Hello and welcome to The Late Shift. My name is Val and I'm joined with
Saul,
Jonah,
and James.
Last week we told you a little bit about ourselves, like for example the fact that I think of Jafaf very fondly, perhaps too fondly when I go to sleep. So I thought today we should stray away from original content and do what we did last week. Do you agree?
I guess. I mean, it's not like we've never followed patterns before.
The party says we should agree, and I agree with the party.
Never split the party.
Works for D&D and communism.
Yeah.
Last week we talked a lot about embarrassing stories from our childhood, and I thought, let's not limit ourselves. We have lived to an age,
An undisclosed age.
a part of getting to that age has been getting through adolescence, which to most people is quite embarrassing. There are some people that come out of it and have no embarrassing stories to tell. And I look at those people and I feel sick.
Anyone that doesn't look back on their teenage years with any degree of embarrassment, they are a psychopath. Like, there's something wrong with them, because there's no way you can look back on like the awkward, gangly mess that you were and go, that was a perfectly normal, non-embarrassing time for me. I wasn't certainly...
Should be the new narcissist test.
As we said, adolescence is a very difficult time where you're struggling so much with trying to shape who you are. What was the stupidest thing you've done, Saul, to appear cooler?
So I was referred to as a boffin at school, which is a term that never gets used nowadays. Because I remember
It means like nerd. It's a negative word.
There was a guy. There was
The
a guy
term
called,
itself has become uncool.
there was this guy called Dan, and Dan and I never got along. Multiple times. Like it was never like bullying or anything like that, because this guy was like half my size. So Dan would often call me a boffin, and I remember there was this one time that I was leaving maths, and Dan was like, "Oi, boffin!" And I turned to him and I went, "If it's an insult to call me a boffin, it must be a compliment to say you're thick as shit." And I walked off, and I thought, yes. Slam dunk insult, and obviously I just sound like a pretentious asshole. At the time, they're like, "Yes, Dan, up yours," and I walked off in triumph. Like,
Very, very similar to the. You don't like the show because your IQ is far too low. You don't appreciate the little things in Rick and Morty that really make it.
I was a Rick and Morty fan before
was,
Rick and
he
Morty.
was almost a 900 IQ fan.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the same guy that in PE, when we were in the changing room, putting on our clothes after PE, and I was there, and I remember he went up behind me and tried to keg me, which is obviously, in our terminology, putting down your trousers. Now, I wore a belt, so I remember he went up behind me and went, and my trousers didn't move. I just turned around and just pushed him in the face, just pushed him away, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He was
Push
like,
him closer. It's like, you want to get down there? You want to suck something?
"Oh yeah, I used to tell people I was gay when people used to call me gay." I just remember. No, but this isn't adolescence, but this is a lot. No, I remember.
Pride Month, it's fine. We're all very. It's
No,
a safe space.
no. But I'm saying, I remember. This is primary school. So primary school.
What you want to be?
Primary school. I remember people were like, "Gay," and I'd be like, "Yeah, come here and kiss me." Well, this is primary school. Well, James, we went on to Saul's coolness during school. You know, he was out there, free thinking. I'm speaking in third person now. But James,
Disassociate yourself from the past.
thank you, James. What did you do that was ultimately quite petty?
About pettiness, there was a kid in secondary school who had frubes, and I didn't like that. So every time we used to take the frube out of his lunchbox, I used to squeeze the end of it as he tried to eat it, so it'd blow up in his face.
Why did you like the idea of fruit?
I don't know.
Did you want one?
No, I just didn't like the fact that he was like a teenage
fruit
boy with a frube, and he was lowering everyone else's street cred. Because we'd all be there in the lunch line, like jostling, and he'd pull out his little lunchbox with his like mum's sandwiches and be like, "Frube time." And I hated it. My question to you, Jonah, is: as a teenager, of all of your obsessions and fandoms and hobbies and interests that you accrued, which is the one you look back on with the most sheer, unbridled embarrassment that you were into?
I had an odd desire to accrue Gaelic languages.
I was expecting Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah, even in fact into my late teens, to the point I still had the books around somewhere. But to learn Irish, to learn Welsh, which isn't technically Gaelic. I don't think I bothered with Scottish actually. I just assumed that I could do both Gaelics in one. I had an odd interest with the other languages of our great nation.
What do you
Apart
know?
from Cornish.
Do you know any
No.
phrases?
No,
Do you
this
still
was
recall anything?
literally, I picked these things up in second-hand bookshops when I was in Ireland or in Wales, and then immediately went off the idea when I got back.
I started to laugh at you, Jonah, but then I remembered that I was a man that my friends and I sat down and learned Dwarvish runes, so I can't really complain.
Yeah.
We used to write notes to each other in Dwarvish runes.
Oh no, I remember doing that too. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Salabe Moshe de Holle, which is Gaelic for go to bed.
It's very long. By the time you finish, like, the
You're
child's
asleep,
way
that's
past
the point. That's the
bedtime.
trick of Gaelic. My mum used to say it to me when she tucked me in at night. So if I find out from like a commenter that it meant like go fuck yourself, you know, hellspawn, I wouldn't be surprised.
Me neither.
But yeah, no, I don't remember any of it. So you can see, like, it was a fairly futile hobby, but I have the books knocking about somewhere.
Why does it fill you with embarrassment?
It seems really stupid to learn a language that even, like, for example, Gaelic, learn a language that even like most of Ireland doesn't know.
Just wanted to be different.
He just wanted to bring them back. Dead language.
I think I remember.
Oh, we
Like,
still
I
learn Latin.
Some of you do. I don't.
I didn't learn Latin. I was really angry about it. My school didn't think I was
Why-
smart enough
why
to do
would
it
you
because
wanna do
when I
Latin?
did the SATs,
Yeah.
the SATs, I didn't speak English at that point, so my grades were really shit. Because I came into the English school system when I was in year 6, so I did really badly
Well,
in
I mean,
these
I
standard
think-
tests.
I think-
So when they started picking people for Latin, in my school at least, it was based on the predicted grades that you were expected to have. And from my predicted grades from my SATs, I had a D. So they did not want me in Latin. They were like, you are too
I don't
pig
think-
shit.
I don't think that was the
stupid
point,
to
Val.
get
Maybe it was
into
the fact
Latin.
that they wanted you to learn English before you started learning other languages.
No, because the thing is that by the time I was in year 7, I had the summer of watching stuff, talking to people. So by that point, I already spoke English relatively well. Like, here and there, I would have issues with the and Say, for example, when you're talking about an object, sometimes you would refer to something as the phone, but sometimes you call it a phone. Those things didn't really make sense to me. So those were the kind of mistakes I was making. But they didn't want me in Latin. And I watched those kids sitting there smug, learning the meanings of all this bullshit, dead language. And I was angry. I was like, what if I want to be a doctor? What if I want to be a biologist? What if I need this shit? And then I have to catch up now. I was angry.
What if your partner may have a lifelong obsession with refounding the Roman Republic?
Yeah.
How is your Latin, James?
Awful.
Did you guys study Latin in school?
I studied law, so I did a bit of Latin.
So when I was in school, I learnt it was German. I had the chance to learn Spanish. I took it up for a little bit and then dropped it.
You
Carry on
chose
doing German.
the better fascists.
Yes, and also Japanese. There was a point where I was in the higher tier forward for German, so we were learning geography while speaking German, and I also had Japanese lessons.
Oh, they
that
taught you your subject in
Well,
the
I'm a massive
language.
weeaboo. Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand it.
So they taught you your subject in a foreign language to help you learn it.
Yeah.
That's really I don't know.
Yeah, so now I don't know German
Such a
or
good
geography.
idea. I think it's a really good idea.
I was going to say, I just got taught French and where to find the fucking swimming pool. Or
I
something.
got told by my dad.
La
Ooh.
Speaking of a stupid thing you did to make yourself seem cooler, I learned the entire of the community rap because I hoped that one day I'd run into a boy who'd be interested in community and I could impress him with my amazing recital of Donde está la biblioteca.
The thing is, Val, I like community, and it still doesn't impress me. I still think you're weird.
I sat down, I looked up lyric videos. I worked on my timing. I rehearsed with the video over and over and over.
Don't you laugh, James? You did the same with X Gun and Give It To You.
Yeah, but that gets mad puss.
And cred on the streets.
Yeah, I'm cruising. Cops pull me over. I just start fucking dropping it. Gonna give it to you. They just go like, all right, we got a made man here. And they leave me alone. When I was in school, languages were compulsory, and we were given the option between German and French. And I came home and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to speak. And my dad sat me down and was like, you're going to learn French because there are beautiful French women, and German isn't good for anyone. Basically, he was like, you will learn French. That's why.
Because
To
there's-
chat
wait,
up-
wait, wait,
to
wait.
chat up women.
So you will learn French because there's beautiful
French
beautiful,
women to
and
chat up.
there's no beautiful German women.
That was his
Not
logic.
a single one.
That
Have you
was
not
his
seen
logic.
Oktoberfest?
That was his logic. Are you arguing with me or my dad? So, I took French, and then the next year they were like, and we're also adding Spanish to the curriculum. My dad was like, should it be Spanish? Spanish women are more beautiful.
Well, it falls to me now to ask you a question about. Any embarrassing like fads or fashion trends you might have gone through to the ages of like 11 and 18?
I've actually got quite a funny story about this. Okay, so when I was younger, I spent a lot of time on Quizilla. Quizilla was a website where young women like myself, and maybe young boys, I don't know, the names back in the day used to be very much like numbers and a jumble of letters.
Leet
But
speak.
this is where my interest in fan fiction first began. Is because on Quizilla, people would write these quizzes where you would go in and then the setup would always be like something around 7 Minutes in Heaven, which is a game that fascinated me because it's not something that really happened in my school at the very least. And I thought, what a naughty idea. So then it would be set up like it's like you arrive at a party and it's a game of 7 Minutes in Heaven. You approach the table and you have to pick an object. And this object represents the person that you go into the room with. You select your item, and then it will give you like a big blurb or like a write-up of what happens in those 7 minutes. And sometimes it would be good things, like it would be like, and then he tells you that he's had a crush on you for like 1,000,000 years, and you get married, and you suck his wrinkly dick for the rest of your life. And sometimes it would be...
So I'm assuming that was ad-libbed and it wasn't actually a part of it.
You suck his wrinkly dick for the rest of your life.
Because I read those a lot, and a lot of the time there was a lot of Mary suing going on from these authors. If they were even a little bit interested in emo culture, it would go from 0 to 100. It would be very much like my immortal, I was wearing a pink tutu with my black fingerless gloves. And because of that, my brain made a connection that the only way that I could find somebody to like was for me to be really like emo and really try hard. And I did for a long time really try to be emo. And obviously one of the staple items that very often gets described in that is a hoodie, like a long oversized hoodie.
I was going to say fringe. I think with emo hairstyle,
yeah,
black
I mean,
fringe.
but the thing is with the hair, it's just a matter of waiting and letting it grow out and styling it a certain way. Whereas with clothing items, at this point, I was so young.
Waited for ages. It started off as this like little baby hoodie that was like didn't even cover my nipples.
And I fed it and I nurtured it. Yeah. And then it got
like I was
this rhinestone on it, so I threw it away.
It said juicy on the back.
Yeah, so I burnt it. No, never again.
So at this point, I wasn't in charge of my own shopping. So I wanted this hoodie. I didn't have money to spend on clothes. It wasn't like I wasn't allowed out, but my mum didn't really give me money and go buy clothes for yourself. And I don't think she realised that how deeply I wanted to fall into the emo hole. I wanted to dye my hair, wanted to straighten the shit out of it. I wanted to just constantly smell like burning hair, just have that lovely frizz that you see in all of the photos from MySpace. That teased big, I am a backup dancer in the Lion King musical kind of hair. I wasn't responsible for the money spent on my clothes shopping, so I asked my mum, I really want a hoodie. And at this point, my mum was dating a lovely gentleman from Lithuania who really loved taking her to expensive designer shops, like buying her really like good stuff. So when my mum mentioned that I wanted a hoodie, he was like, of course, I will help.
Like, fuck no, not for that bitch.
He was like, of course I will help. The issue is a language barrier. I got really excited. My mum came home, she was like, oh, I finally got you what you want. I was so excited, and I opened the bag, and inside is what I can only describe as somebody skinned a bear and turned it into a fleece with a zip.
That sounds awesome.
Yes, so you had a Chewbacca.
I was so upset because, as most teenage girls, like I was so insecure about like my weight, the fact my boobs were growing in, like the fact that it all looked wrong. Because all the girls I saw in these photos were like kind of wearing these hoodies, and it made them look kind of slim because it's kind of like a tent.
Rather than like puffy and covered in Wookiee hair and like on the beaches of Kashyyyk fighting off droids and Empire.
Exactly.
And you're like, why can't I be like those girls?
So tall girl as well, and I looked at myself and I looked really short and round because it was so voluminous.
Jump.
I'm talking like, I would say that the fur on it was about the size of a little finger. Like that's the length we're talking here. Like it was very big and fluffy. And I saw it and I just started crying. Mum's boyfriend walks in and he's like, doesn't understand what's going on because obviously he's just trying to make me happy. And he sees all this.
She does not want to be poof.
I was like, I wanted a hoodie. And he was like, this is a hoodie. I was like, it doesn't even have a hood on it.
Oh.
Put it up.
Just for a moment, I thought I could make it work.
But it didn't have a hood on it.
It didn't have a hood. It was just a fluffy
the thing
fleece.
the thing is, right? Like, because of the context of you speaking, this is probably a very expensive coat.
Oh yeah.
And you were just there like, no, I wanted like a £10 hoodie from one of those cheap box stores.
So I turned to my mum's boyfriend and I said, and I was crying, and he took the jumper and he went and returned it and gave me the money. And with that money, I went to Camden and
Probably bought 20 hoodies.
No, I didn't buy 20 hoodies. I bought myself my first pair of rainbow socks. I can't even.
And what did you do with the rest of the money?
No, 'cause he
this
obviously-
was a designer coat.
didn't give
You were
me-
like socks.
No, he didn't.
Did you not? Did you
I
know,
don't
like how haggling
No, no.
worked in Camden? Does that? How much for the socks?
No. He didn't give me all the money. I think he must have given me something like maybe £30.
On
Again,
socks.
on socks. That's
wait,
probably
no,
like
no.
£2.
No. So I went to Camden. I bought myself socks. These socks were like my most prized possession. I still have them. I also bought myself a hoodie. I felt really cool. I bought 2 spiky belts. The kind of belts that you have to turn the other way around in order to get them into your jeans because the spikes are so large that they
Yeah.
would poke through. Little life advice for you kids out there, if you're listening to it and you're still trying to rock that spiky belt, you gotta just flip it the other way around.
No one's rocking that.
There is a photo of me on my Facebook somewhere rocking about, where I'm sitting in front of my mirror of me reaching Zen, hitting that moment where I have become what I've always wanted. Yeah, I might have still had brown hair and it wasn't big enough, but I sat there in my rainbow socks, wearing my belt over a skirt that really didn't need it, and my hoodie. And I smiled into my little flip phone as I took that photo, clearly missing the entire fucking point of being an emo, which is don't fucking smile.
Not ever. Not unless your eardrums are being like slowly worn apart by really loud music.
But even worse, right? So I tried the emo thing, it didn't work out, and then afterwards I got, well, I mean, not afterwards, concurrently, Twilight started coming out, and I was reading all of like the fan fiction for it, watching the films. I was obsessed, and I got into my head that I was going to be like Alice from Twilight, who has like kind of short hair and dresses like a librarian, which is where my style went next. I had 3 waistcoats that I would layer over a frilly shirt. So yeah, then I went through this fucking phase. I looked like I was trying out for a role of like a librarian in a porno film, because I was dressing like far too old for my age and wearing too much blue eyeshadow. I don't know where I got it into my head that in Twilight there was blue eyeshadow involved.
I thought you were just going to say, I don't know where I got it. I found it on the street. Blue eyeshadow. Just thought, this will do.
Any picture of me wearing makeup from that era makes me sad. I remember the head of year called me into his office. At this point, I was listening to a lot of Pretty Reckless, and I thought I was Taylor Momsen. If you remember what she looked like when she first began her rock career, her black eyeliner.
I remember her.
Her black
blue,
eyeliner.
It was blue eyeliner, 3 waistcoats.
And you used to get constantly called into the teacher's office because the other children were laughing so hard.
A spiky belt inside out, pointing inward, self-harming.
Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. That's so funny. No, and so basically, I was emo, tried to do scene, didn't work out. Then I was into Twilight, was being like a weird like protege of a sexy librarian, maybe. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'm just like a rock chick. Maybe like that's who I am. And my idea of rock at that point was just Pretty Reckless, because I just finished watching Gossip Girl, and I had 5 headbands from me trying to Blair Waldorf, which you guys don't know because you didn't even watch Gossip Girl. So within this short space of 11 to 15, I went through so many different phases.
She's just trying to find who you are. They should write a movie about you.
And so I walk into my head of year's office, and I thought this was about me being late all the time, because my punctuality is not something that began to deteriorate as I reached adulthood. It very much started from the moment I was born, because I was supposed to be born on Christmas, but I really was.
You hung on.
I hung on. So he calls me in, and I sit down, and I've got my diary in me, and I'm clutching it because I know that he's going to write me up. And
well, I'm going to write you up too, Principal. Whips out diary with the fluffy pen. He's like, I'd prefer if you didn't.
And it's a gel pen and it smells.
Apple will seal your fate.
And so I sit there, I'm so nervous, my knuckles are white from how much I'm scared that he's gonna tell me off. Like I said, I was constantly terrified.
And he was like, you're fit.
No, he looks at me. You know what's funny? That head of year actually there was a huge scandal about him that year, because he ended up dating one of the sixth form girls and cheating on his wife with her. So
you were in danger.
I wasn't in danger because of what he was about to say next. My true essence of who I am was gut punched out of me, because it was so devastating to hear for a young girl who was already in school and couldn't really change her appearance at this point, because it's not like I had time to go into the bathroom and do something. I must have spent half an hour doing this fucking eyeliner. I looked like a fucking panda. It was black all around my eyes, and we had a no makeup policy. I don't know what the fuck I thought I was fooling. And he looked at me.
Did somebody hit you?
He looked at me, and all he said were 2 words that broke my little 14-year-old heart. And he said, "What happened?" I didn't have anything to say. He was like, "No." He literally said, "What happened?" After blood started rushing to my face of shame for my entire being. He was like, "No."
No, you look like Deadpool.
This, pointing at me, he was like, "No, don't do that." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "You can go now." And I had to go back to class.
They just called you and was like, "Your whole look, it's not for me." Was it Gok 1? The teacher yeah, yuck, and then just sends you out again.
And that wraps up the story. My full timeline of transitions through phases. Thank you, Jonah, for asking me that question and helping me relive
and
this
thank
shameful
you, whoever
memories.
has to edit this.
We've cried and we've laughed, reminiscing on the past. So let's do more of that in Today in History. I've got very interesting stories for you boys. I'm going to do my best to educate and
Discombobulate.
Just slapping people about their head until they can't think.
pew, 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 pew. So we begin in the year 1799, when the Rosetta Stone was found in the Egyptian village of Rosetta by French captain Pierre-François Bouchard during Napoleon's Egyptian campaign.
I did not know that those events were linked.
Really?
I didn't know Napoleon found the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah. Well, not him personally. It wasn't like he stumbled across it, stopped his toe. I was like, what is this? Is this?
Hieroglyphics.
What happened is Napoleon Bonaparte was campaigning in Egypt from 1798 to 1801 with the intention of dominating the East Mediterranean and threatening the British hold on India.
Fucked it up.
Fucked it up indeed, which is why the British Museum now has the Rosetta Stone.
Like all the other important things we took in this is now ours.
Although accounts of the stone's discovery in July 1799 are now rather vague, the story most generally accepted is that it was found by accident by soldiers in Napoleon's army. They discovered the Rosetta Stone on the 15th of July in 1799 while digging the foundations of an addition to a fort near the town of Rashid, or Rosetta, as they called it in the Nile Delta. It had apparently been built into a very old wall, and the officer in charge, Pierre-François Bouchard, realised the importance of the discovery. On Napoleon's defeat, the stone became property of the British, as I said, under the terms of the Treaty of Alexandria, signed in 1801 along with other antiquities that the French had found. The stone was shipped to England and arrived in Portsmouth in February 1802. It is currently being housed in the British Museum, where it's cased in glass, but there's also a replica of it that you can come up to and touch. And that replica has to be remade every couple of years, so every 2 years, because people come over to it and touch it so much that they rub out the hieroglyphics and text that's been
That's why we don't
written
trust
into
the
it.
real one.
Exactly.
Well, I think it sounds about right for the French at the time because their entire economy was propped up on looting at this point in history.
The British, of course, were just honourably taking the thing.
Absolutely. No, they're kind of after the revolution. They had so
spoils
many.
of war.
Oh yeah,
Spoils
of
of
course.
war.
Like when Napoleon went through Italy, it was his first major campaign. It was just like, well, have that art and that art.
Yeah.
Just went around all the churches like that and that and that.
Because they needed to, because they essentially had a currency called the assignat, which was paper money that had become hyperinflated and utterly worthless. I think it was selling towards the end at like 8% face value. So the soldiers themselves wouldn't take anything more than like specie, which was like a metal coin. Like they refused to be paid in this like useless paper money. And the French economy, when the Committee of Public Safety was kicked out, the next rave
Directory, wasn't
yeah,
it?
the Directory by this point had taken over. They were like, we have the financial crisis is awful. We're terribly, we have no money and we've taken on so many debts and no one is willing to give us any more money. And then the French army, especially let's say under Napoleon, started winning. And essentially, before this point, the Directory had turned around and essentially issued an order, which was the war has to feed itself. So as in, we have no money for food for you guys, just, find it wherever you are. So like places like Belgium, the Netherlands, and Italy suddenly found themselves just being rampantly looted by the French, who may
Who
I
are
add,
like locusts.
who may I add had come there with this noble intent to be like, we are trying to liberate the whole of Europe from the tyranny of monarchies. All these, and like, say for example, several places were like, woo, yay, and they're like, give us all your stuff, and they're like, not so woo. And Napoleon basically just marched through Italy and was just like, just taking everything he could,
Imposing taxes,
Imposing-
was
yeah.
that were gone before.
and just to get money back to France to stabilise their economy. So it makes perfect sense that in Egypt they were, when they're like, oh, we were digging fortresses. I was like, I don't think so. You're probably just pillaging.
No. The Napoleon's Egyptian expedition was. He designed part of it from the outset as a scientific archaeological enterprise. Like he actually, before he went, gathered together a core of scientists.
Really?
And was like, I will bring these guys with me on campaign. And he was like, it was the first known attempt to methodically document and measure essentially a whole country.
Do you know where he was supposed to go rather than Egypt? The Directory had decided they had a really clever idea, which was to invade the British Isles. And just beforehand, the French had tried an invasion of Ireland, in which not one French soldier got to Ireland. Some did, however, land in Fishguard, Wales, which is argued to be the last time a foreign power ever set foot on the British Isles, was the Battle of Fishguard, which was basically...
Where they realised how expensive the ferry prices actually
and
were.
they started just looting. No, essentially, they landed in Fishguard, this kind of scattered, because they got hit by a storm, scattered. This French bit of army landed in Fishguard, Wales, and they encountered several armed resistance, including a angry Welsh woman who was just hollering at them, and they surrendered.
Much like France.
Yeah, about a year or so later, if not more. Don't remember the exact dates. The Directory came up with a really, they were like, we need to, the British are the only ones left in the War of Coalition, so we want to take them out with a great invasion of the British Isles. To which Napoleon said, yeah, let's not do that, because that's a terrible idea. We should go to Egypt instead. That's where you can really hurt the British. And the Directory turned and were like, well, on the one hand, Napoleon is a really competent military general at the moment, and that sounds
Seems
like a
to
really
know
good...
what he's talking about.
On the other hand, he's really, really popular, really competent, and we don't like that. So if he goes off to Egypt and disappears in the desert, then it's a win-win. So, yeah, that's why I went to Egypt instead.
The decree inscribed on the Rosetta Stone was written in 3 languages. So it was written in hieroglyphs, suitable for a priestly decree, Demotic, which was the native Egyptian script used for daily purposes, meaning like language of the people, and Ancient Greek, the language of the administration. The rulers of Egypt at this point were Greco-Macedonian after Alexander the Great.
It's called Ptolemaic Egypt.
So the reason the Ancient Greek part was important is the fact that at this point Egyptian hieroglyphs were now considered a dead language. Nobody really knew a direct translation. People thought that each individual symbol represented a concept, and they couldn't figure out how to read this language. Whereas here they had a direct translation of the same passage in 3 different languages, one of which, Ancient Greek, never died.
Yeah.
It's still very much similar to the contemporary Greek that's being used, isn't
Well,
it?
it's like in back then it was kind of, if you study classics, which a lot of people did, Latin and Ancient Greek, what you learn.
Yeah.
So it was the kind of thing where, like, say, you're right. You had like British archaeologists and like philologists, which is the old name for like a linguist. Like they're going like, it's a bird, I guess. Like I don't know what's a bird mean, Harold, or like what's the sun, or what? But then when they realised they could have bits that have been translated ancient Greek. Everyone knows Ancient Greek. Yeah. Good Lord, suddenly much. So it's the root to all translations. Before it's like 3 squiggles. What's 3 squiggles?
Is
do you
the
think?
penguin hot? Why would it be a penguin? Of all the birds? I just been like, a penguin.
Much like what England was trying to do with the World Cup in the last couple of weeks, the knowledge of the Rosetta Stone was trying to be brought home. And it was indeed, because Thomas Young, an English physicist, was the first to show that some of the hieroglyphs on the Rosetta Stone wrote the sounds of a royal name, and it was that of Ptolemy. The reason they were able to confirm this is because Ptolemy's name was surrounded by lines in the Greek script, in the Demotic script, and in the hieroglyph form, and that was used as evidence to the fact that hieroglyphs weren't simply used for symbol to concept, and in fact they started developing an alphabet of the language and realized that it was a lot more complicated than that the hieroglyphs actually functioned in both ways. They were both context at times, so very much like we use emojis now, but also sounds.
Phonetic, yeah.
There we go. That was 1799. The Rosetta Stone was found in the Egyptian village of Rosetta.
And looted for scientific purposes.
All good science is looted at some point.
Well, it's more than can be said for the Elgin marbles, which were just looted.
And continuing on in the vein of...
when Greece could pay for them, they could have them back.
And continuing on in the line of Napoleonic discoveries, in 1869, margarine was patented by Hippolyte Megamuri for the use of the French Navy, because Napoleon actually put out, he was like, shout out to my people out there. We need
I
to
hate
make
butter. Make a different
He was
one.
like, we need to make an
Oh,
alternative
I remember that
for
brand.
butter.
It's like,
No.
next time I can't believe it's not butter, just I hate butter. Just like,
Make another one. And then there was a little like kind of cutesy cartoon Napoleon like roaring.
So Napoleon commissioned this, and it took until 1869 for them to work it out.
I'm not sure... No.
Napoleon,
Long dead.
oh no.
Someone writing out to St. Helena like, we did it!
My Capitan.
Napoleon did a little shout out. He was like, we need an alternative to butter. It's too expensive, especially for the army and the low economically developed classes. And it was finally invented in 1869 and patented by Megamuri. And then in 1871, he sold this invention to the Dutch firm called Jurgen, which was later a part of Unilever, which makes Flora margarine in the present day.
And so you can say a lot of things are a part of Unilever.
I personally like the idea of Napoleon's last words were like, I may have brought the world to heel, but I can still believe it's not butter. And then he just like died. And they were like, we have failed you. Oh, great leader. Just dies.
Continuing on with the drams of Europe, circa 18.
I like how the invention of margarine is like drama. Like,
It is
just imagine,
drama.
Imagine like this, like like the
Spicy stuff in the French
the
salons.
secretary of to the king, like puffy red face, like running down the halls of Windsor Palace at this point, and it's like running and like, Your Majesty. And she's like, what is it? They did it. The mad French did it. I was like, my God, they did it. Margarine. We will not have it here. We're a butter people, a proud butter people.
Looking at Queen Victoria, I can believe that.
Yeah, she was. It is your patriotic duty to eat butter, not this French filth.
The European drams of 1800 onwards. 1915, the head of the German propaganda in the US, Dr. Heinrich Albert, lost his briefcase on a subway in New York City, and an examination of its content revealed an extensive network of German espionage and subversion across the US, which included the plans to blow up an island. They blew up an island.
Black Tom, yeah.
Black Tom.
God, like, imagine that just like getting off the train, like, oh, Scheiße! I forgot my briefcase!
Oh my God.
Bad spy! Bad spy!
Can you imagine how fucked he felt? Can you?
Just sat there.
Disappointed my viewer.
Well, no, it's just the Kaiser.
Yeah.
But he'd be sat there in his office with like the telephone at his left hand, just revolver at his right. Do I tell or do I just?
Oh, but can you imagine being the person who found that briefcase? Just there, like,
fuck me.
oh, because obviously this was before the whole like bomb threat, you know, because we don't talk nowadays. Like, you see a briefcase, you dive on it, and then you realise you just crushed someone's like it's pottery. I don't know why people are pottery in a briefcase. No,
Margarine.
Everyone's taking urns
oh,
on
it's
the
full of
underground.
filthy French margarine. But being this person, like, hey fella, you forgot your briefcase, and like I'm maybe like running after him, like fella, and then they're like opening and being like all these like German empire plans.
The bomb here.
Yeah.
But it's really, I think it was particularly important that his briefcase was found at that time, because I believe at this point
In 1915, America was
not at war, and so I think there was something
Friendly
like
German man.
no, they were
you
like-
forgot your briefcase. Oh, dankeschön. And it takes it from him and like, ooh, I sweat about.
so I think at this point German ships would stay in U.S. harbour, and
They were neutral at this point.
Yeah, they were.
I think the Germans attacked some of their merchant vessels.
Again, like one of
Yeah, because they're
Germany's
mistaken for
favourite things
English.
to do in the Mid-Atlantic in any world war is unrestricted submarine raiding. So that was ostensibly what brought the US into the First World War, was the fact the Germans sunk like the Lusitania or something, which was an American ship.
Yeah, didn't they think it was ours?
Yeah.
Again, another German mistake. I was like, oh,
No, it was American.
But you said red, white, and blue flag. We should that up. But the American flag is also this.
Lots of flags of red, white, and blue.
Although I
France.
think honestly though, at that like by the time America got around to joining the war, the Bolsheviks had ducked out.
Yeah, they
So I mean, like for their glorious revolution. So good job, guys.
Yeah, we are off to kill one another for several years. Bye bye.
Don't get me wrong, the Germans actually didn't stop invading them, even in
No,
1990.
and
they
the
were
peace
German.
terms they gave, they were like the kind
Oh,
of
the
thing like,
Treaty of,
and you must wash my bollocks with your tongue now and every fortnight. And they were like, yes, okay, fine. It's like, oh, well, we're getting away with it. Let's just keep-
The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk.
yeah, ridiculous, like really.
Yeah, it's just essentially the Kaiser was like, oh no, Ludendorff was like, all Ukraine, mine.
Yeah. Basically, what it is they presented the Russians just a dotted line, and they were like, "What is this? No terms?" And like, oh no, if you fill them in after you have signed, yeah."
You know the best bit is a bit like King Charles refusing to acknowledge Parliament's like power to try him. They sent Trotsky to negotiate. It was obviously like Trotsky's like world revolution must go on, so they sent Trotsky to negotiate peace terms, and he just denied their ability to negotiate with him. It was like, I refuse to talk to you. Why did you come here, you silly Russian?
But
I refuse to talk.
Even better, you fast forward to 1918. Germans are in the Treaty of Versailles. The French are obviously being like, make Germany not a thing anymore. Pick it up, fire it into space, as far as we're concerned. and the Germans, they're like,
We want them to stop taking Alsace-Lorraine.
Yeah, they were like, the Germans, they're like, how would you be so unkind to poor Germany? Who would ever make such ridiculous peace treaties? Yeah, they were really like, you can't do
Oh no, but it was. I think the Americans brought it up, so Woodrow Wilson brought it up.
Yeah,
That you made such an arsehole treaty with Russia, so don't come crying.
yeah. And it's like,
Also regarding treaties and Russians, you know what the bulk, because essentially when the Tsar was still top dog, before he was shot to pieces.
shot to pieces and his diamond armor. You know that about his shooting. Tsar Nicholas's family had so many of the royal jewels sewn into their like corsets and clothing. They were acting like bulletproof vests as the Bolsheviks were just offloading, so the bullets like pinging off of them. Didn't save them because there were a lot of bullets, but they were like
But they
bullets
looked
hitting
glam.
diamonds and flying off.
But yeah, when the Tsar was top dog, he was still like acting like a proper imperialist power with Britain and France. So they essentially made a load of like secret treaties. And remember, Britain made treaties with everyone regarding the Middle East and the Ottoman Empire. They made treaties with the Arabs, with the French. They made another treaty with the Russians as well. These were all top secret. No one knew. It was really
They were just playing Civ really well.
yeah, like loads of backdoor deals. Because the thing is, they what they did to get the Arabs on side to essentially fuck with the Ottomans is they promised the Arabs like everything between Mecca and Jerusalem. And they were like, "This is yours," and the capital will be Damascus. And then they went to the French and the Russians like, "No, fuck that. We're going to carve it up as soon as war's done, and they're not going to be able to do shit about it." And then when the Bolsheviks took power and just seized the foreign ministry in St. Petersburg, they just fucking told everyone. They were like, "Look at all the shit we found."
Oh my god.
And everyone was, so the British foreign minister was like, "Shut the fuck up, you Bolshevik assholes." And they were like, "No, you've been trying to fuck the Arabs
I
over."
understand we add so much more now, like at these. Oh my god!
Yeah, it was-
all
yeah,
these,
they-
all these, the Yalta, Tehran, like conventions where they get
Potsdam
together
as
and have
well,
to be
yeah.
like, let's do this war talk. There must have been so much resentment behind everything.
The
one
main
another.
resentment between Tehran and Yalta was the fact that Stalin was set opposite Churchill, the man who tried to strangle the Bolshevik baby in the cradle, as he put it.
Yeah, and they hated one another. Like Stalin said a famous phrase where he was talking about, this is when Roosevelt was obviously still alive, where he said, Roosevelt only dips his beak in for $1, whereas Churchill would rob his own mother for a kopeck, which is a Russian penny.
Yeah.
Where he's basically saying that like Woodrow Wilson is like barely cares about
Oh,
anything.
Roosevelt.
Sorry, Roosevelt only cares about big things and making money, but Churchill's such a petty man. He'll like call you up on everything. They hated one another, the two of them. They really did.
Must have been a really awkward.
It was a really- one of my
awkward
favourite
readings. But I love the
expressions.
fact that Stalin was at all of them.
One of my favourite expressions.
Oh, he had
He's
a whale. He had a whale because at Potsdam, because at they had Tehran in '43, which was in the Soviet embassy in Iran, and then they had Yalta.
In
And
Europe,
Potsdam was
it's in one of the Baltic states.
Oh, yeah. And obviously Potsdam's just outside Berlin, but obviously Tehran and Yalta had been, the big three, who were all like statesmen of similar caliber. So you had Stalin, you had Churchill, you had Roosevelt. By Potsdam, Roosevelt's copped it, and Truman's in charge, and Churchill got voted out,
Yeah.
and Clement Attlee's in,
Yeah.
and Stalin's just there like a fucking bull in a china shop, like, right, little pussies, I fuck, Red Army here, this mine.
But the thing that's so funny is Truman went into I think it was Potsdam with the bomb being like the big thing.
Oh God, and Stalin knew.
Yeah, and Stalin knew. So he came in and was like, "Don't worry, I got this. We're gonna drop the bomb on him, like quite literally. Be like, what we got? Don't
you
mess with
think
us."
he
And-
rehearsed?
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
so
Do you think he rehearsed that day? I bet he sat with,
he
with his
had-
security
he
staff
had a
and
really,
he was
like-
like, right, how should I deliver it? Okay, let's try this.
yeah, yeah.
He went for like he was like, we have like a new technology which will like seriously alter the course of the war, and Stalin just went, I know.
Yeah, literally. I think Stalin. One of the things that you always say about Stalin is he was a very aggressive listener, as in he barely talked, but he would always be clearly listening to everyone. And when he did talk, it would be like one really short, kind of like succinct thing. So, for example, Truman, I can just imagine it now, was going on and on about dealing very vague. Like we've got a new thing that might worry you, and he went, I know. And the thing is, and it shows you the power of how much they knew what Stalin was, because all he had to say was "I know," and they were like, "Oh my god, he knows!"
Because they had
yeah.
I remember seeing a documentary about it. One of the scientists in Los Alamos from the Manhattan Project, which is the Americans making the bomb, it was the Communist Party member in Germany, and had obviously fled when the Nazis were coming to power. And then when the Russians found out, because he was a physicist, but when the Russians found out he was on the Manhattan Project, they were like, "Conrad, come, tell."
Come to mother.
It's like the story of when the Russians tried the bomb. So obviously when the Americans built the bomb, they had like kind of relay stations and communications to be like, we're dropping now in the bunker. When the Russians tried it, they had a train line that they essentially, they're dropping the bomb at one end of it, and they had men with hammers at various points down the train line that would bang on the train line. And there would be another man listening for the vibrations who would then bang on the train line, and it would send it all the way to command, who'd be like, drop the bomb. But when they dropped the bomb, they had no real idea of what was about to happen. So what happened was this, the blinding flash went off, and including the general in command and all the scientists were like, we're dead, we've killed ourselves, we're going to die. Like, this is so big. Like, what have we done?
And wasn't it like a lot bigger than they had planned?
Yeah, like it just
it was
went
like,
off.
I think it was like 20 times bigger.
Was it a miscalculation
Yeah.
or just?
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
and they were like, we're dead, we've killed everyone.
Yeah.
And, so obviously, I don't know what happened to the poor men who were stationed along this trey line, but they are probably very pretty, shadows on the ground.
No, you have your ear to the train track and you just hear. Ding, 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 ding,
And it just
you're
stops, and you're like, what?
And then, so then you obviously. Ding, 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 ding. It's Morse code for I am dead.
This is the part that I love. The general was basically told, if the bomb doesn't work, you're dead. From Stalin.
Yeah.
You're dead. So
If the bomb works,
this
you'll
better
probably
work.
die by
So he
nuclear
essentially
blast.
had two folders, which was the bomb works, which is have big party, everyone loves me, and the other one, which was if the bomb doesn't work, kill every scientist and run, kind of thing. Like, these were the plan A and plan B. Bombs going off like massively. Everyone's so terrified because they think they've killed themselves in this bunker. They haven't. So the general kind of takes this moment to be like, oh, thank God. Runs
no,
off to
wait,
the phone.
I shouldn't say that, we're in a communist state.
Yeah, and he calls Stalin. And he's like, Stalin, it works. To which Stalin just goes, I know, and puts the phone down. And this general at that point realised that the scientists, one of them was such a rat to Stalin that during the moment where everyone was like, we're dead as the bomb was
first
coming, he
instinct.
ran off to call Stalin, being like, before I die, comrade, it works, kind of thing. And so this general came brandishing a pistol at all the scientists who were like mid-party, like, it worked, kind of thing, with a pistol, like, which one of you is that bloody narc? Like, yeah, that's just the difference between the Soviet, like.
I remember when we were getting taught about the conferences at school. I was getting really irate with my New Zealand history teacher because he kept that kind of.
Because he kept calling it the Big Four and insisting New Zealand was really important. If you can see right back there, he's holding the pens. March the poor man in the meeting. The whole
Come on,
meeting.
like France is technically there, and we still don't call it the Big Four. Fucking Charles de Gaulle is like, fuck off.
Yeah. I would like. How do you say? Sorry, who let him in the room again? I thought you invited me here. Just close the shutter. Sorry, Charles. Be out a moment. Well, it's something we did with Czechoslovakia. When we're negotiating the division of trade. They didn't even let the Czech leader into
Venice.
the room. He was literally outside the corridor pacing, and the doors open. The British like, it's all gone. Just walked off triumphantly, and Hitler was there like, thumbs up to you boys. He didn't even let him in the room.
I guess the problem I had with the way that history was taught here is that obviously loads of the focus is Western. The focus, especially when comparing the differences, a lot of what Mr. Teacher B used to do is that he would focus on the things that were promised to Britain or America or vice versa by either of the three, and that weren't delivered on. But the thing he seemed to keep skipping over was the fact that Britain and America promised Stalin at the first meeting that they were gonna help with at the front, and they never fucking did.
Yeah.
They didn't do it until the last conference they had.
Stalin
if I'm not
famously
mistaken.
said, "You want the fascists and the communists to bleed each other white. Like, you're not helping us deliberately, so it will be a bloodbath."
Well, yeah, it's at Tehran. They promised in '43. They promised a front, and they were like, "Hey, we invaded Italy," and Stalin was like, "That doesn't count. Like, barely anyone's bothering."
Yeah.
And some people
Mussolini come on, Mussolini got spooked by his own shadow the other day. A Greek man came too close to him. He's like, "Oh, mamma mia, no."
Where's the Justice Raptor?
But it's 44 is when D-Day happened, and Stalin was like, "Yeah, but I've turned this thing around. I'm already in Germany."
I have made the road to Berlin with corpses of my comrades. We are rolling out.
But obviously in '43, Russia was still they had won Stalingrad, but it was still Kursk was the big battle. By '44, by the time D-Day had happened, the Red Army was actually at Warsaw.
So
On the other side of the Vistula, but still at Warsaw.
it's the kind of thing where you've been the whole we're coming as well, Stalin. Oh, okay, you can do. I just swallow up less of Europe.
This is one of my favourite Stalin quotes. Is at Potsdam. Someone, I think it might have been I don't think he wouldn't have called him comrade, but Secretary Stalin, you must be very very proud of your Red Army to have got to Berlin. And all Stalin said was Tsar Alexander I got to Paris, which shows you what Stalin was trying to do.
My personal, before we move off from Stalin, favourite Stalin quote is when Churchill turned to him and said, "Do not worry, Secretary Stalin," as she said, "I believe God is on our side." To which Stalin replied, and I believe the devil is on my side because, as we all know, God is a good conservative, whereas the devil is a good communist.
My favourite Stalin quote is, I think at one of the conferences he turned around and he said, "Did you guys know that I was really hot when I was younger and everyone still looks at pictures of me?"
And he pulled them up and he was like, "Yes, you were very hot when you're younger. Only when I was younger. Oh no, it was a trap. Still hot now, aren't I? Yeah, you're going to be hot. Get guns out, boys."
This picture's will be all over my country.
Yeah, everywhere. People just looking up at a gorgeous man.
Yeah.
Fair, he
Some
was-
might say I had a cult of personality. Moving on from the trials and tribulations of World War II, leaving the well-respected Dr. Heinrich Albert standing on the platform looking at the subway train as it
Lordy Lord,
pulls
that's how we
away
got there.
with all of the information, we go to 1922, to something slightly more lighthearted, which is when the first duck-billed platypus was publicly exhibited in the US at the New York Zoo.
They all thought it was bullshit.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, they thought it was some kind of joke where somebody took the body of a beaver and decided to disgrace it by sewing it together with a duck's bill.
It's a natural enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's like beavers and ducks. You know, it's just
They don't get on. They're like communists and capitalists, always at each other. Even if you were a huge fan of Phineas and Ferb, I thought I would bring you guys some facts about the platypus, because learning more about it, I think it's the
They get
animal.
weirder. They get weirder.
It's the animal that won evolution.
I don't think one evolution. I would give that to like the mosquito, which is everywhere, or grass.
No, but
That's
this-
not an animal.
in terms of Star Wars, like,
No, but
This is
the
a-
platypus is like
Humans? I think we
platypus-
won evolution.
The platypus is like the sci-fi of the different genres of animals. Like it is.
Yeah,
it is
I'll give you that.
weird. It is really weird. So first of all, it's a
conspiracy
semi-aquatic.
theories, platypuses are aliens.
Maybe. So the platypus is a semi-aquatic mammal, which means that it
doesn't like committing. That's what it means.
doesn't like committing. Yeah, it can,
You flaky fuck.
as I said, it's a semi-aquatic mammal that has a very unusual appearance. So it's got a duck bill, a beaver-like tail, lays eggs, and has otter-like fur and webbed feet. So as we've already said, the platypus is a combination of various animals, but that's not fucking enough. It's not enough to come for otter's fur, webbed feet, or the beaver-like tail with a little duck mouth. It's not enough, because the back foot ankle spur of a male platypus contains a venom that is powerful enough to kill small animals, such as dogs, and the venom is not lethal to humans, but it can cause severe pain that sometimes lasts for weeks. As far as I know, it's the only mammal that is venomous,
Most mammals have a form of bacterium in its claws.
but you wouldn't call it a venom.
No, it's not venom.
No, that's the. I can't off the top of my head. It doesn't mean I'm, I'm
Yeah,
right.
I'm
but
not- I'm not a
cannot
zoologist.
personally think of a venomous mammal off the top of my head.
Ah, the cow.
It's just not. They don't bite people too much. you know.
Spit venom.
So the platypus can live more than 12 years in the wild. Their natural predators include snakes, water rats, hawks, owls, eagles, and sometimes
Can
crocodiles.
you imagine seeing an eagle pick up a platypus? Would
don't
that not
think
be
it-
a sight? Ah, this platypus like, I'm dead.
Platypuses
Yeah.
are excellent swimmers, diving underwater on average for around 30 seconds to forage for food before coming up for air. The really interesting thing about that is the
30
fact
seconds.
Yeah, it's not really much.
that... No, but hold on. They close their eyes and ears when underwater, so in order to feed on worms, insects, and freshwater shrimp, they use their sense of electroreception.
What, they have everything. It's
And-
like,
But nothing well enough.
yeah,
Do you know,
it's
they
the
have-
jack of all trades.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing is that they're quite small. I think if they were bigger,
They'd be
be
apex
unstoppable.
predators.
The
How big
giant
are they?
platypi.
they are about 50 centimeters. That's how big they grow. So it's about the size of
I-
a shatterproof ruler.
Or just
Ruler.
Or
30
just a-
centimetres is the standard.
And why is that unit of animal measurement? Like someone just there next to a great
it's
white with a
1.5.
shatterproof ruler like it's about
You'd need a shatterproof if it was next to a
Did
great
you
white.
have you ever had a problem with a ruler shattering in your fucking eye, killing someone? I don't understand
your
why.
eye?
Yeah, when you're at school and you're being one of those rowdy boys at the back and you're bending your ruler,
Yeah.
and it just snaps into a million shards.
invented
It
this?
scars you like that Bond villain from the last Pierce Brosnan one, like covered in glistening pieces of plastic from where the non-shatterproof ruler blew up in your face.
I was just want to say, I can smell like a B movie, like sci-fi horror, centered around giant platypi.
Absolutely.
I
that
want
would
to
be
like if
amazing.
anyone's making that, I want to be part of it. Just
Yeah.
like I'll be a
the way,
The
victim.
great platypussies.
the way,
Go wild.
The other venomous mammals are there's two types of shrew, including a water shrew and I think it's a solenodon, which is from Cuba, which it has poisonous saliva.
Okay, at the venomous saliva.
Yeah, venomous saliva.
So at the very least, it's one of the very few that's got that.
Yeah,
so
there's
it's
a
got
handful.
So I think first of all, this B movie horror is going to be called Frankenpuss because it's like a combination.
Sounds like a porno.
I don't remember. I haven't actually watched Frankenstein's Bride. I don't think. Does Frankenstein's monster kill Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein, at the end of that film?
Well, in the original story,
Victor Frankenstein dies, but the monster doesn't kill. Well, technically, the monster drives him into the Arctic, but he doesn't kill.
Okay.
yeah, because I was going to say the monster does kill everyone he knows and loves.
Okay, because let's turn back time.
Including
and-
his platypus.
Hold
So he
on.
can bring it back for Frankenstein.
That's what I'm saying. Frankenpuss is a heartwarming story of Victor Frankenstein and his monster bonding over a love of a pet.
What, you're trying to
he
imply
makes him a pet, which is the Frankenpuss, which is the platypus.
I need a creature as ugly as I am. And Victor Frankenstein looks at the platypus and says, you know what, you're not that bad, monster. And he's like, I told you. I'm just a
want someone to
scarred
love
Robert
me.
De Niro.
Have this. And he's like, do you want a bride or something like that? Someone as equally ugly? It's like, no, just take the platypus. He's like, it's beautiful. It's just like me. Frankenstein and the platypus.
love
But he's
to have a
walking his
pet
platypus, people
platypus.
screaming in the streets like, don't worry, that's for me, not you, you're beautiful. The platypus like going along. Stabbing a dog with its venomous spurs, the dog fitting, the person then like yelling at Frankenstein, him then ripping it in half, the owner in half, then walking together again all happy.
Do platypuses need spritzing? They're not in water.
He's trying to spritzing his dog at the bus stop.
No, I don't think they need spritting. They are found by rivers because that's where they hunt. But it's crazy to me that platypuses are predators.
Well, yeah, a lot of...
Not apex. The giant platypus will be apex.
Yeah, they will be. They're coming soon. Frankenpuss.
It's like enough venom to slay a whale.
XXX.
Yeah, it's like the age of man is over. Bum bum. Like now is the age of the giant platypus. Like it's just this like thing running alongside like a bus, like us dry, like frenzied survivors,
actually,
bashing into
I
it.
imagine it's like because it's got
Have you
like
seen
webbed
duck's
feet.
teeth? Like, have you
Yeah.
seen duck teeth? They're terrifying.
I imagine like
Get
it's
bigger.
like it's really like slappy feet.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, if there was going to be a
Slapping, that awful slapping.
Guys, Frankenstein's story, Dr. Frankenstein is a duck, and he's made a platypus as his monster. Because a platypus is bigger than a duck. So it
Animal
works
Farm
perfectly in
remake.
ratio.
Yeah. It's just like, well, it's not quite the literary masterpiece that Animal Farm is. It's literally about a duck that makes a platypus.
Critics have said that Mary Shelley will be spinning in her grave.
I take that as a term of endearment. You know, I spin when I'm happy, says creators.
So, as the platypus is a predator. It uses the pouches in its cheeks to carry prey back up to the surface where it's eaten, and it eats about 20%.
Like a hamster. Again, it's just taking the weirdest parts of like every animal, but just...
I was really waiting for using the pockets of his 3 waistcoats.
It's basically the platypus was like, you know how you have like patient zero in like disease outbreaks. The platypus was creation zero in Jurassic World.
He is the Mew of Pokemon. All genetic code
yeah,
came
like,
from
yeah,
him.
yeah, like you could just tell it's like, kind of like you know on
The platypus
you know when
is
you're like
also
doing,
the
when
only
you're doing something on like Photoshop or something, and you have that kind of like either that layer that you're just dumping everything in while you get the assets and you bring them back later on. You're like, okay, I need that again. That's what the platypus is. It's just like
It's if you hit randomize on character creation.
But it's also, to me, I think when you don't know when to stop. You're like, I'm gonna make the most amazing river-dwelling animal in the world, and then you just keep going.
Like,
You
the
go,
otter. Shit, this has already been done. Right, okay, stay with me. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve.
also
Like,
lives near rivers?
what's-
Ducks.
With your ducks.
I like
bees near
cowboys.
water.
Give it spurs.
Fuck. Right. Okay. Now give me some duct tape to stick it all together. They're done. The platypus.
How does it?
Pouches.
Because you know my personal theory that like if there is a divine creator, that he's just an overworked programmer who is trying desperately to code the game that's called Earth, but he's like clearly overworked and underpaid, and he has to make a lot of cut arounds.
Well, the platypus must have come after the encountering of bugs.
Yeah, like brilliant. I said yeah before I even registered what you said, and now I feel like a bloody fool. Anyway, and the platypus is that art asset folder where it's like it's hidden in Australia, where a lot of the art asset folders were, where we were never really supposed to get to in several places. and he's there like, okay, I need to get some more hamster stuff for this, and I take that from the platypus like stock file, and then he's like, oh, I forgot, I made it lay eggs. I was so dumb of me. Oh, it's just so, it's alive. It's like.
As of 2017, there is no platypus in captivity outside of Australia. This event that I was talking about in 1922, the first displaying of it, is one of...
Great escape of the platypus.
Yeah, it's one of 3 attempts that was ever made to bring platypuses to the Bronx Zoo in New York. The first one was in 22, then there was one in 47, and then one in 58. Of these, only 2 of the 3 animals introduced in 1947 lived longer than 18 months. These creatures, despite the fact that they seem to have all these kind of like X-Man level powers, like they seem to really only thrive in Australia by rivers.
They call him the platypus.
Since we've known about their existence, we've been tracking their numbers, and they've kind of remained the same despite the fact that red foxes were introduced in Australia for hunting, which affected a large proportion of the population that were of platypuses that were killed. But you know, they're lively fuckers, and they're doing it for us.
I'd really be interested in going back and seeing like their evolutionary train of seeing like where they started and what became them.
Yeah, because it seems like obviously evolution is a process of like trial and error to make the best like adapted creature to the environment that it's in. But at some point you kind of get rid of certain things. Like for example, say we have a tailbone still, but
or a skull that allows you to make stupid noises out the top of your head.
Like you get rid of that, but it seems like the platypus is like a nervous kid just about to do their A levels. They kind of don't want to let too many things go. They don't want to close off their options. They want to keep them open.
Oh, so you're saying that you go through all these different phases. So do you relate to the platypus then?
That's
you know what it is? You know, is that kind of a bad exam where you get people who think the way to succeed in an exam at higher education is to write down as many different points as they can in like a regurgitation fest rather than write about 3 or 4 and argue them and cross-examine them. The first option there is the platypus, where it's like cheeks, bill, beaver tail, and it's just like, is it successful? Not really.
Yes, it is.
It's not successful.
20% of its body weight every fucking
That's
day.
not successful. It lives in a very small ecosystem. I don't judge. You know what, as I said, successful animals, the ones that spread everywhere. Human beings, we're really successful.
Mosquitoes.
Look, Frankenpuss is going to happen,
No.
and you're going to fucking...
And I'm going to first.
I'm going to spit with rage.
I'm going to immediately assume the Jeff Goldblum thing and be like, we shouldn't have done this. Platypuses are stupid animals. That's the role I'm fulfilling. I'm going to get knocked through a toilet
They're
by
a
a
protected
giant
species
platypus.
in Australia. Before they used to be...
Well, if they're so great, why do they need protection? We should be protecting ourselves from them if they were great.
In like 1800s they were hunted for their fur, but then the Australian government like stepped up to the plate and was like, that weird thing over there, mascot, keeping the platypus.
Wallabies, the Australian mascot.
Yeah, but the platypus is also used
Not
as
even
a
a
mascot.
kangaroo, which I don't get.
No, but the platypus is also used as a mascot at sporting events, and it's on their coins as well. Anyway, moving on to the next story.
I
Let's
prefer
go.
it to a kiwi anyway.
Guys, we were just in 1922 saying goodbye to a dying platypus in the Bronx Zoo, and now we're going to 1930 to talk about Lady Death. Do you guys know anything about Lady Death? I'm gonna make your process of elimination easier and let you know that Lady Death is in fact not a playable Overwatch character. She's a historical figure. So, Lady Death. Anything? Anyone? Any?
Not a fucking clue.
Okay, so Lady Death. Many called her Lady Death. To Adolf Hitler's men, she was the Russian bitch from hell. Ludmila Pavlichenko, who was born on this day, is the most successful female sniper in history, having killed 309 German soldiers during Second World War. So, Lady Death is
1933.
What do you mean 1933? 1930 is the year I think she went to college or something like that.
All right.
Okay, because if I say if she was killing Germans then, that would have been an international incident.
Even starting with
Comrade Adam, sorry, I don't think to allow me. 300 of our men have been shot by one random tourist.
You just set up in the hotel room opposite the barracks. Just like...
So Ludmila was born in Kiev in Ukraine, where she worked as a metal grinder at a munitions factory, and while she was doing that, she joined the paramilitary youth sport group that taught weapon skills and etiquette. And after a neighbour's son boasted of his shooting ability, Pavlichenko set out to show that a girl could do it as well. So she practiced a lot. Later, she studied history at Kiev University, where she competed as a sprinter and a pole vaulter and trained at a sniper school. And when Hitler sent German troops and Romanian allies to the Soviet Union in June 1941, Pavlichenko volunteered for the Red Army and was intent on becoming a sniper. They wanted her to become a nurse instead, but relented when she passed an impromptu audition, if you will. So
Shot the guy.
So basically,
Think fast, bang. See, I'm pretty good. The comedy goes like.
she was a very headstrong woman who kept insisting that this is something that she wanted to do. This is why she came there. She wanted to be a sniper. And they were like, yeah, well, why don't you do this? So at a hill near Odessa that the Russians were defending, they spotted 2 Romanians who were talking to the Germans, and who were clearly collaborators. And they turned to Pavlichenko, handed her a rifle with a telescopic sight, and told her to shoot at the 2 distant figures. And she picked them off with 2 bullets. So it wasn't like she had to.
The Russian somehow she didn't get the achieved 1 bullet, 2 kills, did she though? Ooh.
She couldn't wait for them to align, man. They were gobbing. So she said, when I picked off the 2, I was accepted.
Accepted by who?
By her little army. They were like, "Oh, you're so amazing, Ludmilachka. Good job."
I can imagine.
That's exactly how a
Soviet.
Soviet commissar sat. Oh, who's a little angel of death coming in for the job between you?
So Pavlichenko was then deployed to her first sort of experience on the battlefield, and she was absolutely frozen with fear, unable to raise her weapon until a young Russian soldier beside her was shot dead. And he was such a nice and happy boy, she said. And after he was killed just next to me, after that, nothing could stop me. Because, he was just like a really nice boy. And
Probably
she
that
had,
shot, he kept talking about how great everything is. Oh, we're having a great time out here. It's a cracking one, isn't it? Oh, boy, good effort, Germans. Good effort, Russians. All doing great round here. Hey, what's the point of bang? And just like, the German like, you wouldn't shut up. I had to do it.
So we were talking about the efficiency of the platypus with 20% of its body weight. Pavlichenko operated for about 2.5 months near Odessa, where she recorded
300% of her body weight.
187 kills.
Oh, okay.
Her unit was then sent to Sevastopol on Crimean Peninsula, where she fought on for 8 more months. One of the 2,000 female snipers in the Red Army, Pavlichenko's total of confirmed kills was 309, including 36 enemy snipers. So at one stage, the Germans, who had labelled her as the Russian bitch from hell, were so desperate to stop her, they bled radio messages that said, "Ludmila Pavlichenko, come over to us. We will give you plenty of chocolate and make you a German officer."
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. She'd go. Imagine,
just this German waiting around the door of his Luger, trained to is she coming?
with a box of chocolates trying to lure her, but the gun on the other side of the door.
I keep just getting starving Russian children.
I'm running out of ammo.
Chocolate bang! Oh, I didn't get that.
Also,
his squealy, high-pitched voice, he sounds like a girl.
So to avoid confusion, the reason I said 1930 at the beginning was because that was the day, the year of her birthday. She was born on July 12th. So today is the 15th, but it's such an interesting story, I thought I would mention it anyway. So in 1942, June, Pavlichenko was wounded in battle and was forced to withdraw from combat. She was then sent to America to enlist support for a second front in Europe to divide German forces and relieve pressure on Soviet troops. And she was actually the first Soviet citizen welcomed at the White House because President Franklin D. Roosevelt invited her to do a tour of 43 cities to tell Americans of her experience as a woman in combat. In Chicago, she told a large crowd, "I am a 25-year-old and I have killed 309 fascists. Gentlemen, don't you think you have been hiding behind my back for too long?"
Fair play.
She was wounded in the sniper fight. She fell out of a tree and stayed lying on the ground for like hours and hours, convincing them that they were dead, only to crawl off and snipe them back.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't just like she got hit by shrapnel. She fell out of the tree, lay there dead, until they assumed they'd got her, and then.
I don't think her outlook when it came to what she was doing would really work very well in the world that we're living in today, because
you can't just shoot people.
She famously said, when asked how she felt about the killing, she said, "Every German who remains alive will kill women, children and old folks. Dead Germans are harmless. Therefore, if I kill a German, I'm saving lives."
It's like
the Punisher.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly. Simo Häyhä, who was the Finnish sniper called the White Death, who is I think is the most successful
She's the most successful female.
Yeah, he's the most successful sniper in history. He used to not use a scope because it raised his profile, so he didn't use a scope. And he used to put snow in his mouth to hide his breath. And I think he got like 500 confirmed kills. But he was...
And then took
took an explosive round from the Soviets into the side of his face, which is why his face was so messed up. And when he was asked, what did you feel when you shot those people, he responded, the recoil.
It's a popular one with snipers. When asked what do they feel, recoil.
Wow.
Yeah.
And speaking of
They're
just
fucking tough guys. It's the same thing Chris Carl said, I think, actually, because he was the highest kill count in Iraq for the US Army. The US Navy technically is a SEAL, but he's like when asked, he said recoil.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I've actually spoken to a couple of snipers from the military, from English, because there was this. My dad shoots, and we used to go to these gun shows. And there was this guy, and he was talking about tails, and he was basically describing the first time you shoot someone in the head, and you just get this red mist. He said, like, it's really detaching because one, you're so far away, and two, you pull a trigger, and then there's just red mist. You don't really see anything.
Yeah. But then at the same time, a lot of them are really traumatized by it because they do see them before. They see their face all up close, the person.
alive and then...
Yeah, in modern war, most kind of engagements, tend to see that up close.
Yeah.
You tend to shoot at someone on a hill and then they fall over, which is a lot easier to deal with than, looking at this person, alive and well, and then, as you say, turning their head to red mist.
And I've got one last story for you boys, and then Today in History is done. And that is the heartwarming story of how Gerald Mackenzie in 1997 was awarded $26.6 million for being fired from Miller Brewing Company for sexual harassment for relaying a Seinfeld episode to a co-worker. So he was fired for sexual harassment. He then sued the company that he was with for unfairly dismissing him and won the lawsuit for $26.6 million, which was later reduced to $625,000, which is still a lot of money.
I really, really hope it was the Seinfeld episode with the "no soup for you."
No, it was.
Excuse me. That's sexual harassment. You can't just tell me that I'm not allowed soup.
So he basically sued the company because they reassured him that his employment with them wasn't at a threat, and because of the sexual harassment lawsuit, obviously they let him go. And that was basically what he was saying. He was saying that the sexual harassment claims against him, he was like an executive at the company, had basically severely affected his ability to make money. So the company owes him money for the fact that he was accused of sexual harassment.
So what was the sexual harassment case?
So he basically was speaking to a co-worker, and she reported it to the equivalent of HR at the time. And he was relaying the plot of the following episode. So in this episode of Jerry Seinfeld's NBC sitcom, his character can't remember the name of his girlfriend, only that it rhymes with a female body part. And Jerry and his friends try a few guesses, including Mulver and Gipple, and only after the woman that he was with, his girlfriend, realizes that Jerry doesn't know her name, she runs off. He remembers and runs after her, screaming, "Dolores! Dolores!" This, of course, being a reference to the female body part that is so hard to find. So his lawyer told the jury that the company had it in for Mackenzie from years earlier and merely used the Seinfeld conversation to fire him. He said that he's a goof who comes into work and talks about Seinfeld and finds himself for 1,573 days without a job.
Was this in court where he was like, I'm a goof?
That's what the lawyer described.
Oh,
This is a direct quote. He's a goof. That's somewhere on
Kindred
legal
spirit.
papers.
Your Honour, look at my client here. He's a goof. Let him off.
Can't
That's
take
my
him
case.
seriously.
$26 million for the goof.
So the jury spent about 6 hours in deliberations.
How long did it say he was without work?
1,573 days.
I'm owed $26 million.
So the jury spent 6 hours in deliberations talking about how the circumstances did or didn't qualify as sexual harassment, and Mackenzie testified that he never even said the word of the body part, and that instead showed the female co-worker who accused him of sexual harassment
His body part.
a photocopied page from a dictionary with the word clitoris on it.
I love the fact that I love like
In what world does somebody do that?
that is. I mean, in all fairness, that
That's
is really
weird.
That is
Pre-internet.
really weird. Like if someone was like just telling a joke, but the fact that this person basically just held up a piece of paper and pointed to the word clitoris, looking at you, I'd be a bit freaked out.
The thing is, I'm assuming he didn't have this just in his pocket, so he'd been like, and then he says Dolores, Dolores, and then the woman's just looking at him like, yes, and he goes, oh, you're not getting it. I'll be back in a bit. Runs off to
No,
the
he already
paper
had it in
room.
his pocket. He just
No,
he
that's-
takes it out of his pocket and it's quite worn.
No,
He's
because
had
at
this
least
page
It's
in
a
his
new
pocket.
word every day.
No,
kind
no,
of
because
thing.
there's
That's
no
what
way he
Mackenzie's
had it in his
about.
pocket. Because this
Of
is
course not, James. That was
No, but this is what happened. Clearly, he then ran off, photocopied this, so she probably forgot the conversation entirely, like the Dolores thing. Was sitting there doing her work, and he comes running back and just holds up a piece of paper and points to
I
the
don't
word
know.
clitoris.
I prefer the idea that he just already had the paper in his pocket of the word clitoris from a photocopy of the dictionary.
He's like a lost tourist. He just
takes out his wallet
And just
it's
shows
like,
people and
worn
goes,
edges,
"Where?"
like it's been there a while. It's like just points to it.
It's right here next to my unicorn and other fictional things.
and that
I'm trying to think of like an American accent saying clitoris and Dolores, because like in English it doesn't really work.
Dolores.
Clitoris.
Clitoris.
Dolores, clitoris.
So there, guys. If
It's
you ever thought that,
it's the drawn out R. We've got a bunch of tongue up.
Oh,
yeah, because in English we don't. It's
Yeah, but
Dolores.
When I was reading this article, I had to turn to my colleague and I was like, "What rhymes with Dolores?"
You lifted up your own piece of
no,
paper
she
with
said, what rhymes with Dolores? It's like, funny you'd ask that, actually.
showing
Was
up the
me
piece of
the
paper.
whole time.
No, she
Sexual
just
harassment
lifted up
case.
her skirt. and
Thanks
was
for...
like, Look.
I got it off my old dad before he passed.
Okay, and that was Today in History. Thank you so much for joining me today, boys, on this beautifully drawn-out segment of many goofs and many gaffes,
As
including a bit of sexual harassment, a lot of talk about Nazis and Stalin, and of course
It's a hell of a party.
The clitoris.
the clitoris, the most important part of the human body, if you're lucky enough to be a woman. Following on from some interesting stories, I think you'll agree. Thank you very much, Val. Good research there.
Yes,
From today,
Commissar.
from Today in History, we've got famous facts. Famous facts, of course, being the segment where I go through the day of our recording, pick out some people who were born on this day, and then rifle through their biographies, looking for some delicious facts. And when I say famous facts, I mean that in the very loose sense that they have a Wikipedia page.
Behind the veil at the Late Shift Creation Lab is an open tab to Wikipedia.
Maybe.
Now, I do extensive research. I often have to Google more than one name for the show, and check at least maybe one or two web pages. Usually the top ones, yes. And Wikipedia has helped me a lot. So
And if they're actors, IMDb as well.
yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I do. I sit down, I open some Wikipedia pages up, and typically I try to pick people who come from different backgrounds and different careers, different time periods, to keep things interesting. And so I will take a fact, I'll phrase it as ambiguously and vaguely as possible to make the game all the more frustrating for my lovely co-host. Anyway, moving on to our roster of people. So we are starting off today a little bit more contemporary than some of our previous entries. So we've got 1613. We've got
That's more contemporary.
because we've had what's his name, the Roman guy,
Sejanus.
Sejanus. That's pretty contemporary. This is AD shit. So 1613, we've got Gu Yanwu, who is a Chinese philologist and geographer. We've got 1848. We've got Vilfredo Pareto, an Italian engineer, sociologist, economist, political scientist, and philosopher, also known for the 80-20 rule, named after him as the Pareto principle. Do you guys know what that is?
The Pareto 80-20 law is that within a company or organisation, 80% of the profit is generated by 20% of the workforce. So essentially, you say you have a sales team, 20% of your sales team is making 80% of your sales. That's the law, the 80-20 law.
Okay. 1963, we've got Bridget Nielsen, who's a Danish actress, model, singer, and reality television personality. She actually won the German version of the I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And she generated, I think something like 40 to 60% of the calls that came into the program came in to speak to her. Like, that's how popular she was.
Bloody hell.
1979, we have an Adonis of a man, Mr. Travis Fimmel, an
Ah,
Australian
yes.
actor and former model.
And
1961.
now farmer.
He did some press for a movie that came out recently with him in it. I saw.
Of course, you saw about.
I didn't see it. I saw that he did some press.
No, you didn't. You typed in on YouTube Travis Fimmel, and they're like, "That's not a YouTube channel," and you've been like, "Set notifications anyway, please."
1961, we've got Forrest Whitaker, American actor, producer, and director. So here are people, and now we have our facts. So this person lived among a menagerie of cats that they looked after with their French lover. Could it be Gu Yanwu, the Chinese philologist? Could it be Wilfredo Pareto, Italian sociologist? Bridget Nielsen, actress? Travis Fimmel, legend? Forrest Whitaker, American actor?
Yeah, Travis Fimmel.
American actor.
It's not a very original thing. So Sully, who do you think it is?
I'm going to go for Pareto, for the French lover and cats everywhere.
Yeah.
Surrounded by pussy. He's like 80% of the cats are generated by 20% of this household.
I think I agree with Saul. I think Pareto is
I was going to say Pareto, but I feel like to keep it interesting, I'm not going to say Pareto.
Okay.
So, take this down as a martyr point if I'm wrong. So, to keep it interesting.
you
My
still kind of
my
win,
hat
that's
doth
convenient.
to you, sir.
Get up on your crucifix then.
I will. So, I'm going to say Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker. Fair enough.
Don't want to say Forrest Whitaker.
Okay. Fact.
Wait, do I know Forrest Whitaker?
Yeah, he plays Iliam
Personally.
in Last King of Scotland.
Oh,
Forrest Whitaker.
Exactly.
Surrounded by cats. Just like running out, just like with the explosion in the distance, just with like holding like 20 cats.
Okay. This fact number 2. This person worked in government, proposed loads of ideas, went back home, got arrested and thrown into prison.
oh no, that's Pareto.
Could it be Gu? Mr. Gu Gu Gu?
Well,
Mr.
actually,
Gu
that's the
Yanwu?
point.
Could it be Wilfredo Pareto? Could it be Bridget Nielsen? Could it be Travis Fimmel? Or could it be Forrest Whitaker?
No, it's the first one.
I'm gonna say Goo.
You're going for
and
Goo?
Goo and
Yeah,
you.
goo.
Double down on the Goo?
I'm gonna go say Pareto.
Goo squared.
Goo squared. This person checked into rehab for alcoholism and has been married 5 times. Is it Goo? Is it Pareto? Is it Miss Nielsen?
They have
Is it-
rehab in
God,
70s.
it's
Travis
Forrest
Fimmel?
Whitaker.
It's Forrest
Or is it
Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker?
It's Forrest Whitaker.
Alright, these two seem convinced. Forrest Whitaker.
So, I guess.
But someone's already used theirs
Right, so you...
for their
yeah.
martyr point.
Sully, you're going for Forrest Whitaker. Jonah, you're going for
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker. And James, you're going for
Bridget.
Bridget.
You're gonna want that one for later though.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
But I've beans this one pretty hard.
Listen,
How's your martyr points feeling?
Good.
Right.
Like a burden I'm bearing for all of you.
That's so heavy.
fact number 4. This person sustained a major injury which prevented them from entering a national sports team and went on to study commercial architecture and engineering. Is it Goo Goo Goo? Is it Pareto? Is it Bridget Nielsen? Travis Fimmel? Or is it Forrest Whitaker?
Alright.
I'm going
Not
to say
architect.
Travis Fimmel.
I'm going to say Bridget.
I don't feel like there were degrees for architecture and in the 16th
It's
century
like,
China.
my architecture is my body. All right, Travis. Right, calm down.
All right, Val's fanfic.
He would never say
You don't
that
have to
in
make me
my fanfic.
proof check it, Val.
He would never say that in my fanfic. Come on. Jonah, who are you going for?
I go for Bridget.
Go.
I'm just copycatting Saul, is what I'm doing.
Let's see how far that takes you, because it's now time for fact number 5. The final fact. Can you all redeem yourself and score some points? Fact
This
number
person
5.
is the most attractive person ever. Is it Travis?
This person studies yoga and has a black belt in Kenpo.
See, it's not going to be the Chinese guy because it says has, like now.
Travis.
So I guess I'm.
Why would it not be? You think I don't rephrase these? have you seen any of these who have said, and they,
now-
and he, and they?
Now you've boxed me into the corner where I look like a massive racist because the one Chinese person I'd be like, oh, the martial art man.
Okay, so yoga and black belt in Kenpo. We've got
Travis.
Gu, we've got Pareto,
Forrest
we've got
Whitaker. No,
Bridget,
Travis.
So Sawley, you're going for Travis. Jonah, you're going for Travis, and James, you're going for.
Guan.
No, not Guan Yu.
No. Sorry.
Guan Yu.
Guan Yu.
I don't like this because the thing is, if we get these right, then
draw,
I'm just
yeah.
drawn. Like,
So see, you need a martyr.
Okay, so here,
Sanctity
so
of suffering.
instead of joining first, I come last.
okay.
I've won.
At least you
most
get
of
to be
these.
different. Why not?
So that's why I can afford to be a martyr. 'Cause I'm
Are
brilliant.
we ready for some answers? So,
Yeah.
fact number 1. This person lived amongst a menagerie of cats with their French lover. Saul and Jonah have both doubled down. They went for Pareto. And Forrest Whitaker is the wrong answer because it is, in fact, Pareto. Congratulations, boys. 1-1-0.
I say such venom. I said I think it's Pareto, but I'm doing this to be different.
Let's keep going. This person worked in government, proposed loads of ideas, went back home, got arrested, and thrown into prison. You went for Gugu, and
They
you
were both
went
right.
for Pareto.
Yeah.
And they are right. 2-2-0. This person checked into rehab for alcoholism and has been married 5 times. Boys, I practically gave it away on a platter. She's a reality TV star. Of course, she's going to be a
no.
train wreck.
1 point to Jay.
So it's 2-2-1 because you guys
Wow, you guys
decided to
damned
go for.
Forrest Whitaker.
You decided to go
I'm
for
really
Forrest
sorry,
Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker, if you ever listen to this. I just
This
thought.
is, this is quite funny because Forrest Whitaker's actually been married to one woman who he met on the set of one of his first films, and they have children together. And they're
That's
very happily
really
married.
lovely.
Well done, Forrest. Unlike what
We
these
actually
two
really
branded
lo-
you as.
We
Okay.
really, really love you. Like, as our group of friends, I think we
Yeah.
love you more than other groups of friends.
Yeah, except for the group of friends that entirely founded their friendship group on a love of Forrest Whitaker.
I don't think that
Even
ever
the
happened.
fan club.
I think that happened. That must have happened. There must be
Yeah,
someone.
so you get fan clubs.
Yeah, exactly. So this
Not true
person,
friends.
this gorgeous man, sustained injury which prevented them from entering a national sports team. And they went on to study commercial architecture and engineering, which they abandoned because they wanted to go traveling. And that was, of course, my man, my boy, Travis Fimmel. So that leaves us
Your
with
god,
2.
Val, your
2,
god.
2, which
God,
means
the Asian
last
guy is going to be the
question-
martial artist.
No, guys, because you are
Forrest
all
Whitaker.
wrong. Forrest Whitaker is the one that studies yoga and has a black belt in
Of course.
Kenpo.
What a lad.
So basically, what he's saying is
You drew.
So they're
It's
practicing
a
with
full
ball
draw.
Wow.
the martyrdom point feels
so
pretty
let me
good
tell
now.
you,
Fuck! And you got to be smug.
Why? We drew.
Yeah, but I mean, I
got there
felt
with more
I
creative
got to a draw with the moral high ground.
Oh, shut up.
Okay, so
I can usually take losing, but somehow drawing with James is more insufferable.
so now
At
I'm
least
gonna.
Val didn't win.
I never win.
That's
this
the only way.
podcast
This
is
the
just
only
me
way the
losing
system
over
works.
and over and over. Okay,
Sorry, that makes me sound
going
really bitter.
over the people who gave this wonderful segment and have started a war amongst this triumvirate. Gu Yanwu worked closely with the Chinese government. Where
Chinese
he-
court probably would be.
Well,
it said government in the Wikipedia article, and we know that the internet doesn't lie. So
special not Wikipedia.
exactly.
Never.
So
Don't try it.
so he worked in government, proposed loads of ideas, got sent back home. I think he might have been slagging people off because the police very promptly ran in and arrested him.
If you
and
went
then
after like essentially the chief minister or the
but
emperor,
then his friend put in a good word and he came out, so it was all good.
you knew another chief minister.
He said a very famous quote by him. He said, "Everybody is responsible for the fate of the world." That was something that he kind of stood by, and that was his little quote. And maybe we shall carry that with ourselves
Well,
as we go through the podcast
That's someone's like
and
morning
into
Instagram
our
post, isn't it?
into our lives. Wilfredo Pareto was the one who lived amongst cats with their French lover, and the reason he had a really
Cats.
really sad ending to his life because of the fact that since his first wife left him for a younger man, he met this woman who, in all
Hates
accounts, has been described. who in all accounts was described as a mistress, as his French lover, and yada yada yada, but it was actually a woman that he's always wanted to marry, but because of the area where they were living, he wasn't able to seek divorce from his wife, who he married when he was really young, and who left him pretty quickly for like a young officer. So it was really sad for him. He only managed to secure a divorce, like really close towards his death. So he died being married to this French lady. That made him very happy.
So happy he died.
So happy he died. Bridget Nielsen.
Buried with live cats.
Bridget
Well,
Nielsen.
not anymore.
Amongst a list of achievements from I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, she's also the woman who dated both Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So the thing that made me happy about learning that Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger both dated Bridget was the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger's biography, which confirms the fact that they were in fact dating, is called Total Recall. Like it's just really funny that he's an action star and he kind of like...
I feel like he's one of those kind of Hollywood has-beens who's aware of their own meme.
Yeah.
A little bit.
My man crush, Travis Fimmel. So Travis Fimmel made history when he signed to be a model, because he was the first person who had an exclusive Calvin Klein campaign. And there were rumours basically being spread around. I don't know if it's a rumour, if it's fact, but basically there was a rumour that they had to take down one of the billboards with him posing in like underwear because of like female drivers kind of like rubbernecking and causing accidents.
Yeah, no, it's a famous thing. They put up a billboard. I can't remember where it was, but it's basically Travis Fimmel in his underwear, and the amount of fender benders and like minor collisions skyrocketed, where like women were basically craning their necks to look at the billboard and then just driving into the back of cars because it was like a junction. Because obviously that's where you tend to put billboards. So the lights would turn red. These women were just like looking at it, and then would just bump into one another. Yeah,
Well,
let's
isn't it
take
weird?
it down.
Isn't it weird
Like
that
Val's laughing, but she drove.
Isn't it weird that like that male underwear is advertised for women to be bought for their man, essentially? Because
When was the last time you bought yourself new underwear?
Exactly. No man looks at like a picture of David Beckham in trousers in pants, and basically, or they're like,
I need his underwear.
exactly. No guy does that.
Well, yeah, like, because
well,
most-
do you know what? He's looking really fit with his nicely chiseled body. I'm gonna buy those pants. That will help.
Yeah,
I like
most
the
guys
image
are like fucking.
With my
cunt.
fucking beer
I
belly.
prefer the vision of your flub where he's in full trousers and then it just says buy my underwear. And it's just like, but what do they look like? No, I want to know because of the mystery. It's just him there.
Just put it on the box, like the ones under the trousers. You're
Yeah.
like, those ones. Get me those.
And they
that
come in
would
like,
probably
they come in
work
like a
for-
little black box so you can't see inside.
Yeah, it's
You're
called.
like,
It's what's on the inside that counts.
yeah.
But
Neon
actually, that
bit.
kind of advertising probably would work for the male population.
But the thing is that women kind of have a monopoly on the underwear industry. When you think about like,
Lingerie.
no, because in English we say lingerie, but I think you're supposed to say lingerie. I heard it on a French fashion channel. It doesn't matter. Lingerie is
Lingerie.
what I say.
I call it Marjorie.
Lingerie.
Poland's inventions.
Yeah. So
The women wear the sexy things.
you know we are
Covered in
willing,
magic.
we are willing to invest like a lot of money into like flimsy tiny pieces of fabric that we used to be like, I am beautiful and sexy. So I don't see why we wouldn't spend money on a pair of underwear that may or may not have.
Hey, I
Or
don't
your,
know about you, but
or your insurance
Hey,
premium. so
like,
you can
there
keep
is
with it.
there's ways for the male to look sexy well dressed. Like I like to put on a hard hat and whip myself with a tape measure.
But okay, also I was just sorry, a thought just came into my mind.
Just
right?
leave that
Just
for a
one
second.
luminous vest. Like I'm here to check your pipes and
What's-
whipping myself.
Advertising male underwear is such a weird thing to me because obviously, like, advertising it for the man, you're there thinking that guy, like,
You
what?
have to show a man.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
But
it's so
no.
hard, it's
However,
so gay.
obviously it's advertising for the woman. But the thing is, surely they would buy the underwear, get their husband to wear it, and just be like, you don't look like
Disappointed.
Travis. Yeah, but sorry, you don't look like
You know
him.
what? This is what I would do.
I'm not getting rubberneck. I'm not going to crash my car looking at you.
Yeah, I'm getting fly or
I'm
fight.
trying to claim. You're
Tell you
not
what,
letting me.
I would do this. This is what I would do. If
I
I was
guess you
doing a
would.
male underwear advert, I would have a billboard with just a pair of boxers thrown messily on the floor, but still displaying what they look like, being like better on the floor, and then the name of it. Done.
I would hire like really.
How's that ever going to work?
That is gonna work because it doesn't have like this image. As you say, that would get. That would be like,
No. Do you know what I do? I do a picture of a man sat on a sofa, and my slogan will be cheap and comfortable.
Well, just with his bollock hanging out one side, with the glow of Netflix saying, "Are you still watching that?" And him with one tear, like nodding.
I mean, the other thing is, wouldn't you buy them if
He's got a KFC bargain bucket filled with fag
I don't
ends.
give a shit. I don't give a shit what my pants look like as long as they are comfortable and I don't have to spend too much
So you
money
have to
on them.
remember there are actually fashion-conscious men out there. I mean, I know I say that like I'm one of them, and I'm not.
I'm saying that I'm
But
not
they do
classing that.
exist.
I'm not classing them as the majority.
Yeah. But what I think is like underwear is the exact opposite of socks. The thing is, you always
Wait.
hold on. Hear me out.
They always come off during sex.
No.
Do you always wear
Hear
your
me
socks
out.
over
Unlike
your
socks.
shoes?
No, hear me out. I've got a point. I've got a really
Socks are
important-
included in undergarments.
No, hold on. But listen, socks are the opposite of underwear because you always remember the last time you bought yourself a pack of socks. Underwear just seems to be fucking around. You're always losing socks. You always need to buy new socks. It's like it feels like it's every fucking month that you need to buy a new fucking pack of socks because they just go off somewhere.
I generally
Whereas
buy-
underwear, when I
You were alone in this.
Yeah, that's why it was your own weird idiosyncrasy.
Yeah.
Like,
I
no
would
one
buy
remembers
pants and socks
buying
at the
socks
same
or
time.
underwear.
I feel like I just bought some socks and then I don't have any socks and I'm like, where the fuck did they
So
go?
you don't
Which-
remember.
which
You don't remember at all.
Which definitely warrants the comment. Socks are the opposite of underwear.
Yeah, because
I've lost. My brain is scrambled egg.
right.
I give up.
I agree that socks are the opposite of underwear. Because when I wear underwear under my trousers, I'm comfortable and the denim doesn't rub me. But when I wear just a sock over my cock, everything chafes. It's also a lot easier to piss.
I don't remember.
Yeah, with boxers on, they're just firing the sock into the toilet.
Okay, when you open your underwear drawer and you look at your boxes, do you remember when you bought them?
Yeah, I have fond memories of all of them.
Same with each sock.
It's like, you know, like Toy Story, but my boxers come to life.
Oh god, some of those.
Quick, James is back.
Some of them have some tails.
Some of them do have some tails.
Okay. Travis Fimmel.
It's
that's
beautiful,
what
we
we're
know.
talking
He's
about.
beautiful. He's so beautiful, in fact, that he won an award for like the hottest man by like this magazine.
I don't like all this objectifying men.
Sorry, and he went to the award show, and he was like, he went to the award show. He was like, I don't know how I got this, but I demand a recount. Throughout his entire career, it's been nothing but like trying to stay as far away from like acknowledging the fact that he's a good-looking person.
While also being a model.
But he was a model at the beginning of his career.
He was
You know-
doing it ironically.
no,
Like
no.
he strutted, he was like, look at me, how fucking
No,
ugly I am. This
he
will give
was
them a
actually-
scream and they're like, we love you. And he's
I
ironically.
reckon, no, it honestly,
was-
probably
he was-
more the case where it was like someone suggested you should
Yeah.
do this,
No,
and having
what
no.
actually happened is he was working out at a gym in LA. This person's friend saw Travis working out in the gym and was like, and they called their friend and was like, you should
I found one, an attractive
I found
person.
one.
In Los Angeles, of all places.
Yeah, who'd have thought?
No, sorry, he was working out in a gym in Australia. Because of this,
Alright.
he was flown out to LA and he walked into his interview like barefoot because he had fucking no money because he basically
He was like, shoes or airplane tickets?
shoes or underwear. So he walked in and they were like, "Oh my god."
Imagine being
please.
that attractive that someone finds you in the wild, like you're not even looking, and flies you to LA just to be
Yeah.
like, look how good looking this one
I
is.
see the wild.
Essentially, it ducks.
Yeah, I mean, like you don't go looking for anything. You're just about living your life.
Yeah, 'cause he was
Through
travelling.
the undergrowth, like, I found the native Travis. Quickly get the net.
Bag him and take him back to LA.
He's actually really embarrassed about his modelling stuff. Whenever anybody tries to bring it up in interviews, he's always like, "Can we talk about my acting instead?" Because it's actually something that he's worked on, not something that's like been given to him by being attractive.
Well, he works on that. Yeah, it's not.
No, I know, but yeah, he's from the same place as Platypus is.
So he had to use them as shoes because he had none when he turned up to LA.
Dude just had a pet.
Oh yeah, he was really interested in acting, and while he was modelling, he was getting lessons. But it took him like 2 years to actually go and audition for a role because he was so nervous about doing it.
I love you, Travis.
And he wanted to be a fucking farmer like his dad.
Yeah.
Isn't that what he's doing? 'Cause he made like money off. He made big buck off.
You make it sound like his whole life was an accident. Like, I woke up one day, I wanted to be a farmer, ended up being a model, and then an actor.
Yeah,
Now
it
back
kind
to
of
farming,
It kind of
yeah.
has been because he's a very like easygoing kind of person. Like
Kind
he
of
kind of
like-
just went with the flow.
You were like, oh, come with me. Like, and he was like, but I want to be a farmer. I was like, no.
No, because he was supposed to.
They're too good looking for
He
farms.
was supposed to be a football player for the Australian Football League, and then he had
As Aussie rules football or
Aussie
football?
rules football, yeah.
Alright.
And he
Christ, Travis, like.
and he broke his leg And he didn't let that like be like, oh, my life is over. So he went and tried to do this degree in commercial architecture and blah blah blah. That didn't work out for him, so he just went traveling. And then somebody saw him and was like, "You fucking fit. Come to LA."
You know what?
And he was
I
like,
get.
I lost my shoes on the way.
You know what? I get why he got so annoyed at the modelling thing. Because hear me out, yeah. Imagine that, like, you tried to be a footballer and you broke your leg. It didn't work out for you. But you put in the effort there. You put in the effort of the degree. It didn't work out for you. Then you go on your, like, oh, I guess I'm going to just travel, you know, kind of. And then the first time someone just walks past you and goes, ooh, and then just that's it. Like, no word ever on your heart. Just walks past and goes, you're good looking, and then just takes you off. Like, I imagine that. I mean, I'd like that to happen to me.
I mean, I was going to say,
I'm not,
you
like-
make it sound. I mean, modelling isn't an easy job. I mean, it's a lot. I would say it's easier than.
No, but I'm saying for such, like, what I'm saying not is like it's easy. I'm saying more for that for fortune to favour you like that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you've put in all this work, and then for someone to just walk past you by
and
happenstance,
just give you.
wow.
The rest of your life on a platter.
Yeah, I'm not being like modeling's super easy. I mean, there's harder professions out there.
Yeah.
I'll admit, but I'm not saying it's really easy because I mean, just look at how, like, you know, you get people out there. You all know them who are like, modeling's so easy. All you have to do is look good. I'm like, I've seen your Facebook pictures. And you can't be a model. Look how unphotogenic you are. I'm not saying that they're ugly, but it's like, you know, as soon as the camera flash goes, it's like they've been molested.
And also,
with
like,
a car battery.
Yeah, tased for car bite. They've been
I
stunned
know-
by
I
Jonathan's
know.
meat op.
It's like when you watch them, like, because obviously they're paid on time a lot of the time, so like they'll be like taking pictures really quickly, and they just have to keep doing different poses really quickly. It's
I
like,
also have to like keep
I'll tell
crazy
you what,
fit as well.
Next
so-
time, anyone who's
the
listening,
diets and the
anyone who's listening,
workouts.
next time you hear someone say modeling's super easy, whip out your phone immediately and start yelling poses in that person's face and taking 6 photos a minute, and see how well they cope
It's
with
like
it.
20 a minute, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And every time I'm not doing that, forcing them to work out and eat healthily and
Yeah, I'm just
constantly look good.
Yeah, I'm just saying, do that. Just go like this, like, yeah. What do
And
models
try
even
not
do?
to die from
And
a
you go,
cocaine overdose. That's the
Yeah,
hardest bit.
no cheat days.
Yeah, it's like not taking cocaine is not an option. You've got to manage your habits.
I'm just saying, this is what you do. You know, they say modelling's easy, anyone can do it. You
They
whip
say,
out
"Would
your
you like
phone,
some cocaine?"
Whip out your phone, you start taking as many pictures as you can and yelling random instructions at them. See what their reaction is, then show them the photos and go, is it though? Is it really easy? Because you look like you're squealing in terror.
And also to work in an environment like which in this day and age it's still completely acceptable for people to be like, you need to lose this much weight.
Yeah.
And also the competition of like having so many places that advertising that comes from. Like we've got like people advertising on social media quite a lot now with like Instagrammers, for instance, and trying to remain relevant in this landscape and be kind of cool.
Okay, but I'm not
Is-
trying to be. You know what?
is-
I'm off the team now. I've changed to the other side all of a sudden. I don't care. Like at the end of the day, you get paid a lot for modelling.
No, I agree.
Everyone there's 99.9% of people have to struggle with the idea of being obscure, forgotten about, just in their day-to-day life.
So let's just go back to sucking Travis's dick.
No, can we stop sucking Travis's
Okay,
dick?
let's suck Forrest Whitaker's dick.
Right, cool. I'm happier with that.
His career is just 4 years younger than Travis. Like that's how long he's been in the biz. Like he's been active since 1981, I believe, which is crazy to think. Forrest Whitaker, as I said, has been with his wife for a very long time.
Good for you, Forrest.
He has produced and directed.
I feel so bad that I
critically
assumed
acclaimed
he's had
things.
5 divorces.
And that was a wrap on Famous Facts. Thank you for playing. It has led to nothing. The scores are just the same as last
Fimmel
week.
for like 40 minutes.
And Travis Fimmel is a good-looking man with a humble heart.
I'd bend fenders for him.
I hate him. I hate him because I'm never going to be him.
You have
And
to.
So, we enter creepypasta territory once again, boys and girls. So, creepypasta, for people that don't know, is like a meme, but it's a short horror story. So, it's a short horror story that gets spread around the internet. And I've got some very short ones just to keep things nice and fresh. I'm going to let you choose the first one, because to be honest, I don't really care which order these go in. We have Next Time You'll Know Better, This New Old House, and The Sound of Silence.
I want to say
That is my old friend.
sound science for last, so I'm going to say This New Old House.
This New Old House.
Alright,
Because I hate the title.
The title that I hated most was the one that said "Next time you'll know better," which I presume is referring to the fact that next time you won't read a creepypasta written by that author.
Whoa.
Well, let's reserve judgment till we've read the creepypastas out first.
Sorry, I'm arguing.
You're like a jaded
Also,
academy
I'd like to point
member.
out, Next Time
20
You'll Know
minutes
Better
later,
was
that was the best thing
written-
ever written.
Next Time You'll Know Better was actually written by a post at midnight, so who has done quite a few of the other ones I've read out. I think I might just click on his name and just go through all of the
Oh
ones
my
he's
god,
read.
a mozzie flew in my eye. Oh, you dumb motherfucker, that was not going to be tasty. It was eyeball.
So this one, boys and girls, is This New Old House by Bat Out of Hell 821. There was a few of them leaving that day. We bought an old house, my boyfriend and I. He's in charge of the new construction, converting the kitchen into a master bedroom, for instance, whilst I'm on wallpaper removal duty.
Wait,
Are they not planning to cook ever?
That's a bit of a strange choice to change the kitchen into a master bedroom, because most of the time the way housing plans are done, the kitchen is quite a communal area.
I mean, unless it's a bungalow, I'm assuming the master bedroom's upstairs.
So I'm just saying, can you imagine that just walking into someone's house, there's a hallway and then their bedroom, which then connects to a dining room?
No,
and
no.
you're like,
And you have to go upstairs to the kitchen.
It gets even worse because, like, obviously, there's like you have water, electricity, and gas
yeah.
are fed into the house, and it's not like they just put like outlets in every room and then you can pick and choose. It's like
No.
there are ones which, when they build the house, it's like this room is the kitchen.
And it doesn't
Therefore-
really change.
Therefore, mains water goes in here. Therefore, the gas line goes in here if you have a gas cooker. Therefore, electric units go in here.
Yeah.
But think about this, you're not thinking grand and designed enough. I'm an insomniac. I have trouble sleeping. I turn to my now redundant gas main and I just turn it on. I lie there and I'm like, night.
Like, you're like, I want to experience some paranormal shit. How about that carbon monoxide poisoning?
Yeah, that's the paranormal of just falling asleep and never waking up. That's my creepypasta.
That's
The
pretty
smell, I
supernatural.
couldn't smell and die.
I was going to say that I feel like it's an uneven distribution of labour. He's remodeling a kitchen into a master bedroom, and she's like on
Removing wallpaper.
removing wallpaper. Like,
Yeah, but no, but I'll rebalance that for you because the previous owner papered every wall and ceiling.
James and I recently house sat, and for some obscene, upsetting, disgusting reason,
There was a hole in the ceiling.
First of all, there was a hole in the ceiling, and second of all, the people who lived there, for some reason, decided that they wanted to match the curtains exactly to the print of the wallpaper. It was the most disgusting looking thing I've ever fucking seen in my life. If this was a trend in
Okay,
the
but
decade
imagine
far
this,
gone,
yeah, that was pretty disgusting to look at, but now, imagine now, walk into a room, first thing you're confronted with is a house with loads of just piping out the walls with the marks of like where ovens used to be and a bed in the middle of it. They're like, come lie with us.
it's like a rustic appeal.
If you want anything
know
from the
that-
fridge that's upstairs, disconnected.
It's just part of that kind of hipster generation of serving up food on like fucking concrete slabs.
And, like, I would happily make a kitchen into a bedroom rather than removing wallpaper from every ceiling in the house.
yeah, that's so true.
Right, removing it was brutal, but oddly satisfying. The best feeling is getting a long peel, similar to your skin when you're peeling from a sunburn. I don't know about you, but I kind of made a game of peeling, on the hunt for the longest piece before it rips.
You boring person.
Under a corner section of paper in every room is a person's name and date. Curiosity got the best of me one night when I binged when I binged one of the names and discovered the person was actually a missing person. The missing date matching the date under the wallpaper. The next day I made a list of the names and dates. Sure enough, each name was for a missing person with dates to match. We notified the police, who naturally sent out the crime scene team. I overheard one text say, "Yep, it's human." Human? What's human? Ma'am, where is the material that you removed from the walls already? This isn't wallpaper you are removing. Bum bum bum.
Bullshit.
How in all holy fuck did you not realise you were peeling human fucking skin off the walls and you thought it was wallpaper? But imagine that. That real estate agent. It's very fleshy feel to the house.
Well, no,
It's just a
okay, no,
wallpaper.
not even that, James. Like,
'cause it
if
took,
you
like-
dried it into leather,
was
you
gonna
still
say-
know the difference between leather and paper.
Yeah, it's like, that's a very
Does this-
why
does this
why
all-
people put leather on the wall?
Does
Like,
this- yeah,
what
does this-
kinky son of a bitch
this author
leathered
expect-
their whole rooms?
If there's this author look at, like, I don't know, like wallpaper and then look at like a leather couch and be like, yeah, they're the same.
But
That wouldn't trick
okay,
me.
I'm sorry, but it's a big house, right? How do you get such a big piece of skin from a human being?
and human skin-
to roll it into
Human skin isn't exactly, let's say, you know, in tall, very
Strips.
very square strips.
like
No,
say
it would
3
look-
meter long.
It tends to kind of come human shaped.
Need lots of people
the same colour.
Yeah. And you'd
Exactly
have to,
the
and
same
you'd
colour.
have to carve it apart and sew it
Actually,
together.
you can stretch.
So
Sorry, you can stretch
you would-
leather though.
You would
can
be
stretch it
looking
over
at a
bits.
patchwork, cobbled together nightmare of skin, and then these people still bought the house.
Also, yeah. Also that, and also, if anyone's like leathered a sofa or things like that, like it's a lot of work.
Also, I just have to say this as well. Whoever, this is such a stupid thing. What killer writes the name that they were abducted?
Bat out of hell, 821
Yeah.
does.
What specific? Like you'd be like, I'd understand if it was like, oh, I noticed they'd all disappeared, and there were just these random dates because that was the date they died, because that was significant, or the date the wallpaper went up. But the date they were abducted is not really.
Yeah, it's not significant to the person who had to craft the wallpaper.
paper. Like it's again.
I love that I'm saying this like the person who had to craft the wallpaper.
Honestly,
the one that put in the hard work.
That
there.
story is just trying to.
Well, they were.
Whoa. Sorry. Top comment, obviously, is the author, who said, "Thanks for the upvotes, everyone. The story is mostly true." What?
What?
Obviously, excluding the skin wallpaper. That's the majority of your story. So, take out the skin wallpaper. You have my husband and I bought a house.
Is he
and we
referring
redecorated
to
it.
Which American serial was it who like made furniture out of his?
Oh, I don't know. I make it.
See, furniture more plausible.
But no, listen.
Because
Right?
there's one person who covered an armchair or something.
Yeah.
Like I feel like sometimes.
Okay, but okay. So, thanks for the upvotes, everyone. The story is mostly true, excluding the skin wallpaper. The majority of the story. So then someone commented saying, "So wait, there was really names of missing people on the walls?" And the guy said, "No. Though we did find notations under the paper for when the paper was put up. So basically, each piece of paper on the wall, so layers, had dates.
had a date on them. That's really spooky.
That's not. The story is mostly true. Mostly
The
true.
only thing that person has confirmed is true about the story is they are lunatics who turn kitchens into master bedrooms.
Yeah, basically.
We don't need a gas main in this house.
Yeah. Honey, I'm hungry. Have another good old slob
Oh my
on the
God.
old gas pipe.
Even better, the author once again comments on someone saying something. Thanks, my 9-year-old daughter said, it's not that scary. She's a tough judge. Well, yeah, because your 9-year-old daughter apparently has more sense than you of knowing that you cannot wallpaper skin.
It's like, what do you think, Lily? Shit, Dad.
Yeah, it's a stupid story. It's really contrived.
Dad, you know what? Spot the dog intimidates me more.
I'd rather be reading that right now, if you don't mind.
The Biff and Chip books that are particularly wordy, because I'm scared of the word simultaneously. It's hard to pronounce. It's more terrifying than that story. And the wallpaper was made of people, as were the pipes in the kitchen. Those were made from people, as was the entire house. I was living in a person.
There's a story of a bacteria.
Yeah.
The next one is next time you'll know better.
Dun dun.
You thought this was a creepypasta. Next time you'll know better. The end.
Oh, that'd be amazing. But no.
You'd notice though the moment you open it, it's like it's only
You little
one line.
shit.
Yeah. Have you ever walked into a room and found a vampire?
No.
What?
Is that generally the first line? And found a vampire.
No. Not the sexy kind, but a foul creature with bony limbs and ashen skin. I hate walking into my room and finding sexy vampires.
Yeah, I much prefer the horrible kind, because that happens just as frequently.
I open my
much-
bedroom door and
pretty
I'm
much
like,
a
I'm
coin
shooing
flip.
them out.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
get
it's
out
not
here.
even one of the sexy ones.
Out of here, Nosferatu.
Right. The kind that snarls as you enter, like a beast about to pounce. The kind that roots you to the spot with its sunken hypnotic eyes, rendering you unable to flee as you watch the hideous thing uncoil from the shadows.
It's blood. It's bad out of hell. 870.
Oh my god, it's 821.
That's right.
No, actually, well, maybe it's another bat out of hell.
Yeah, there were 820 others, and there may be more. We don't know how many did get out. We just know that at least 821 of them did.
Loose, it's an unending flow.
He says, sounding like one of the accountants of hell. Like we don't know the amount of bats that have escaped your infernal darkness, but we know it is at least 821, maybe more. It may simply be that number, but at this time,
What did bats ever do
Go
to
to
end up
hell.
in hell?
pissed off meatloaf.
Right. Has your heart started racing though your legs refuse to? Have you felt
I bet they were really fucking pleased with that one.
Have you
That
felt?
literally just makes me. That just conscious of the image of like the Scooby Doo run where the legs like go real fast but go nowhere.
Or like Wile E. Coyote is in the air.
Yeah.
Have you felt time slow as the creature crosses the room in the darkness of a blink?
In the darkness of a. Oh.
Again, like this
so-
righteousness there, like, oh, I'm so fucking good.
The darkness of a blink.
Have you shuddered with fear when it places one claw hand atop your head and the other under your chin so it can tilt you, exposing your neck? Have you squirmed as its rough, dry tongue slides down your cheek, over your jaw, to your throat, in a slithering search that's seeking your artery? Have you felt its hot breath release in a hiss against your skin when it probes your pulse, the flow that leads to your brain? Has its tongue rested there, throbbing slightly as savouring the moment?
It's the end of the story, and that's why you forget walking into rooms because it like makes you, it brainwashes you on the way out.
the end of the story is
Yeah.
neither have I, because it keeps asking you. Have you experienced this?
You fucking lunatic. Neither have I.
Have you a lot better?
Yeah.
Have you experienced sinking, sucking blackness as you discovered that not all vampires feed on blood, some feed on memories?
Oh my god, you might
Well,
be
have
right.
you?
Specifically the memories involving them as a vampire, because everything else remains intact.
Maybe not. But let me rephrase the question. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you came in?
So daft.
Oh
So
my
daft.
god.
It's just they're like, I've eaten all your vampire-related memories. My what? Toodaloo. Just walks off.
I don't want to be a monster unless people can
Remember
me.
you,
Yeah.
or
First comment, that was a fantastic twist.
Was it?
was it the one? I really like my.
Surely,
twists
like,
to be-
I mean, okay.
Telegraph.
Okay, you get bitten
Yeah.
by a mosquito, a very well-evolved creature that has survived on this planet for millions upon millions of years. It still leaves a mark. Surely, you walk into a room, you forget why you're in there, you walk back out, and you're there like, why do I have bite marks?
Sure, I'm bleeding.
No, because it didn't bite.
It ate
licked
memories.
its neck, which
to find the pulse.
which is funny to me because you walk out the
Then you
room with a
experience
wet neck.
sinking, sucking blackness.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It
But
just like
Also, I
It's the
like.
wet neck.
I just, as you said, like I like my twists to be signposted in the same way. When I go onto a motorway, I know exactly where I'll be heading because it's signposted every, couple of miles for the 20 miles I'm riding it, till I know exactly where I have to turn off. And I'm like, well, we arrived here at. That's why you walk into a room and forget. Well, that was certainly a more satisfying explanation than the men in black were in there buggering an alien. That's what I like to believe.
I don't understand.
Oh, so like a vampire that eats vampire-related memories, or does it eat other memories? And you walk out and they're like, "Hey, James, who the fuck are you? You want to go get me a glass of water? I'm your girlfriend."
The new ones. give you-
Bullshit. Get out of my house.
It's my house.
Don't you remember? You were the one that made the kitchen into a master bedroom.
Oh, have you been on the gas again without me?
The reason. The reason we have Alzheimer's is because there's loads of new vampires that haven't figured out kind of how to isolate the memories.
That's why people don't want to go to care homes because they can see what they really are. Like it's something that like drips with you. They come in there, all these fucking vampires like eat their memories. It's like coming like, no, Billy, don't abandon me here with the memory vampires. Don't worry, you won't remember a thing.
If only it was a sexy vampire stealing my memories.
Come here, darling.
I don't ever want to forget you.
Great, but it's really like it's like a good spin on it. It's like, don't worry, I will take away that awkward time you shat yourself in secondary school. Please take it away from me. I think about it every night.
That's what makes them sexy.
Let me take away that time you tried to flirt and just burped in her face. I will take away your pain, my sweet shashishka. Will I remember you in the morning? Oh, tomorrow. We will not. I will never. You will never know. I
You
was
will not
here.
even remember me when you leave this room. And you leave the front door and you're like, my keys, that's why I walked in there.
Oh, why is my face wet?
You know,
It
by
licked
accident,
me.
James, you actually just said. You said sasiska, which means sausage, so you affectionately referred to someone as a sausage in Russian.
My little sausage.
Which is, I guess, what people are. Like, we are, like,
Oh,
Flesh.
Val, that's
Is
so
it
hushed.
fucking-
No, Val, people are opposite to sausages.
People, yeah,
no,
like
people are the opposite of underwear and socks.
No,
I don't remember
I
where I
want the
bought mine.
idea of this vampire who goes around doing people services by remembering their really embarrassing memories and taking that pain away from them, but he disappears into the night.
He's just a
Do you remember that time you tried to convert a kitchen into a master bedroom? Take it away, take it away.
It was such a bad idea. So much money gone. That plumber rinsed us for everything. He laughed the whole time. I still remember his laughing butt crack in my dreams. You fat idiot.
Oh god, so here's with this last one.
Oh, the last one. The sound of silence. You're not going to get in this recording
We're gonna get because there's a alarm going on.
because we're in London. Oh, there we go.
I was kind of.
Wait, everyone, shh. Wait. The sound of silence.
You ruined that already.
Hello, duck. No, it's not. Got you though. After a lifetime of being deaf.
Mid-rip.
After a lifetime of being deaf, my best friend just received cochlear implants. When he woke up from the surgery, we all stood around him. His wife was the first one to say anything. He heard her voice and let out one
Wail of misery. You sound like a hippo giving birth.
How do you know what that sounds like?
It's a good point. It was so loud it deafened him in the first place.
Oh,
He
yeah.
used to be in a zoo and he was trying to help with the birth. He turned around and was like, in his face. It deafened him, and that's the last noise he ever heard.
Then he got married in the meantime.
Yeah, he got married
Okay.
in the meantime.
He heard her voice and at once began to cry. We all took turns speaking, letting him hear our voices and our names. With each word we said, he became more emotional. When we were all finished, silence hung in the room. He looked up at me and asked what that sound was. It took me a moment to understand what he was hearing, and when I understood, I told him he was hearing silence. He shook his head. This isn't silence, he said slowly. I've been hearing silence all my life. This is different. A sound came from just outside the hospital room, and he perked up immediately. Isn't that silence? We all exchanged looks of trepidation around the room before I spoke. No, I said slowly. That was the sound of someone screaming.
Okay.
Okay, that story is ridiculous. Hear me out, for one big reason. Imagine if... Now, silence is something that is always there, at the edge of your kind of hearing. But even talking now...
Technically not.
No, it is, because it's like, even talking now, the absence of all the other sounds that could be blaring out at you is silence. Essentially, it's a thin line between what you were hearing immediately and the rest of it being quiet. Now, imagine living your life, if you're deaf, trying to focus with... So you go around, someone's signing at you, and you obviously can't hear anything other than like... Just, I mean, but not to the point where it ever stops. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you're not going to get used to that.
And the thing is, obviously that's not all deaf people. There's just this person, and why hasn't he killed himself?
Yeah, and also, imagine
Were you disappointed?
what happens when when you go to bed.
Why didn't you kill yourself?
I would have killed
Barry,
myself if I
when-
constantly heard
when
screaming.
you go
Well,
to
he doesn't
bed.
have anything else to compare it to. If he was born deaf and that's all he heard,
Think about this now, yeah. You go to sleep at night, yeah, because you're able to do so because it's quiet, because you're like close my eyes, go to sleep.
you can fall asleep in any condition, James.
No, you can fall asleep into it, but
think
people would
you're so
notice
used
that
to it.
people would notice that the only reason this guy falls asleep is through exhaustion, like a sim, because whenever he's lying there, up until that point, until he blacks out with fatigue, all he can hear is screaming perpetually. Like, there's no way. It's like, oh, he'd just be used to it. He wouldn't just be used to it. It would be so loud all the time. He would be like ear-splittingly, because that's what screams are like. Unless you want to tell me it's just someone in the background of his head going,
Or maybe it's a scream, but it's far away.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he heard it outside the room, so apparently he must have heard it
And
muffled
you know
at
what?
some
It's
point.
actually not. It's actually not. If it is muffled out there, then what you basically described is a very elaborate way of saying that someone had tinnitus.
Yeah.
Do you mean? So it's not really spooky story, is it? If someone was just going, what is that?
Whose
that
scream
ringing?
is it, do you reckon? Do you think it's his mum's when she saw him for the first time when he was a baby? Do you think she deafened him?
Well, I think that is a good place to finish off creepypastas. So we've had the master bedroom kitchen combo, we've had the fucking sexy vampire memory sucker, and we've had the deaf person that can't sleep because of screaming.
Did we pick our favourites?
No, that's why I'm
favourite-
naming them.
Yeah,
Val.
my favourite was the.
Go for it.
I mean, right.
favourite.
I like the sexy vampire
I
memory.
like
the
the
suckers.
I like the sexy.
That's what
Live
the
the
title
sausage.
should be.
I really hated the story, but I like the.
I hated all of them.
I
Yeah.
will accept sexy vampire.
I will accept sex.
In exchange for
Thank you, Val.
I will,
You martyr.
no,
on
I will,
behalf of all womankind, I'll have all the sex.
Yeah.
I will accept sexy vampire with the modification of the last line being me neither, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I much prefer it to based on a true story. Is it though? I had a house and there was wallpaper. So yes.
I have
In the same
done
way that
several-
Jaws is based on a true story because there are sharks and boats.
Did we not like the last one?
No.
The last one was
Death
the
one.
I mean, if I had to be honest, like that was probably the best of them because it wasn't like so stupid. I mean, it was really stupid, but it wasn't like cataclysmically like I have my skin on the walls or the vampires in the corner of the room just like no explanation of how it got in
But
and then it's
every
like
single
give me
person-
your memories of this exact moment.
But that's what-
okay,
but-
that works for me.
But what I don't get,
Saves
right?
the nightmares.
What I don't get, yeah, is like a lot of people around the world constantly are experiencing the phenomenon where you walk into a room and you forget why you're there. Does that mean that there's a designated
Millions upon
vampire?
millions of vampires.
How are we?
Yeah, they're also like. I mean,
They're well fed
It's,
on memories.
it's also like it's already been proven that it's how our memory works. Is the fact that it's situational, like room situational memory. So essentially, you walk into a room. If you have the memory of why you're going into that room, your memory is based around the room that you're in. So if you change rooms, then your brain kind of like sometimes has a hiccup of like completely forgetting of why you're there.
It's the same thing with they argue that might be the reason for deja vu.
Yeah, that's why if you walk back into the room that you had the memory, that's how your brain works. It makes those links because it's all just a series of links.
They argue that deja vu is essentially an error where your brain is in your brain's encoding of a memory where it almost encodes it wrong, so it feels like it's happened before.
Yeah, which it hasn't. It's just your brain thinking that you have had it because it's just a problem encoding.
Yeah, just like and there's plenty of things that can go wrong with your brain. Me, for example, I think screaming is silence. That just happened. I mean, they're like Simon and Garfunkel song's really low key for somebody that should be.
It's like heavy metal.
But you know, I was actually on
Listen to
Reddit.
death metal. Silence. Sorry.
I was actually on an Ask Reddit where somebody asked what was like the weirdest sound for you when you got your cochlear implant, and for a lot of people that was birds and the sound that fizzy
Makes me
drinks
hit
make,
the toilet.
like the bubbles in the drinks. Those are the things that they didn't expect to make sounds.
I guess that would be an odd one because that's a sensation you could experience because also you can feel the fizz on your tongue. But then to have a sound to it, yeah, that would be strange.
Yeah, that's true. A bird song. Do they think the birds just doing this all day, like just opening their mouths often? Like,
Yeah, but no, but I mean,
How
if you had,
often do you actually see the bird making the song? Though? That's
Yeah.
the thing.
yeah, but that's the thing. If you had no idea what a bird sounded like, I can understand. No, like for example, I mean, to you, what noise does a platypus make?
Oh,
Exactly. It could be completely different to what it probably would because you haven't heard it.
But what if birds spoke?
There's but actually a universal one is that a lot of deaf people don't know that farts make noise.
Oh my god.
Oh, the
Speaking
poor
of which, I
buggers.
saw a video, I don't know if you've ever seen it, of a thermal camera. And it just said, like, this is what the world would look like if farts were visible.
Yes.
And it was basically just like, it's just so much gas leaking out of people, like, standing there doing their petrol pumping, and it's just like, you know, like, leaking gas. And you just realise that, yeah, we are so lucky we live in a world where, like, our farts are colourless gas. Because otherwise you just be walking down the street and you see, like, poof! And this one's-
The really amazing thing about, I think, being a woman, I think that's one of the privileges that people don't talk about, is that, you know, if you're walking down the sidewalk or you're stuck in a train, people don't suspect you are the one that farted. And that's good. And on that note, let's finish the late shift. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope your farts smell and make people dislike you.
Be comfortable in your own smell.
And just like a fart, we are audible but not visible.
and gone with the wind.